Hey, what's up? It's Sunday. I didn't get to do the set design stuff that I wanted to do this week. So we're just going to have to deal with it being the way that it is. But hi, everybody. Welcome. It's time for the show. I'm assuming you can hear me. It looks like you can hear me. It looks like maybe I might be a little bit low today, though. So I'm acknowledging that it kind of seems like. I mean, gosh, it's the leftist audio. It's always something. It's always something up in here. I don't know, like whatever. We're just gonna kind of accept that things are whatever they are. Maybe I just need to run my updating software periodically. I've never tried to do it while on stream, but like I wonder if it would let me. If I was like, hey, can you check if there's a software update? Okay, well no, there's no software update at the very minimum. Driver repair might be something I just need to do on a regular basis. So, sorry. Hello, Speedy Shimeji. Hey, haven't seen you in a little minute. Hello. Just saying my little hellos to the YouTube chat really quick. There's Sweet Dream, Ben Jules Run, Dali Greaser, and Mickey just came by to drop a like. We appreciate you. Dropping a like, regardless of whether you plan on staying and hanging out, is critical. It's important, okay? But then there's the website chat, girls, gays. It's the website chat. So, the tech gremlin followed you to Oregon. Listen, actually, I feel like my internet was pretty good before. Like, it seemed like we rarely had issues with it. And keeping in mind that, like, I share my network with two other adults who play games and do all kinds of other shit. And I also live in a neighborhood, and every neighborhood you kind of share the bandwidth with your neighbors. So there's only so much you can actually do to preserve your bandwidth here. I feel like we should just be a little bit further. I'm still trying to figure everything out, everybody. I'm sorry. And my hair is all fucking weird. Sorry. Hello, Kitty Tick. Hi, Marsh. Hi, Drea. Hello, Gayfesh. Junebug, what's up, everybody? Cursed Chaos, chillin'. Did I enjoy the snow? Yes, I did. Here in the Willamette Valley, we all got a little bit of snow this week, and it was lovely. I live in a neighborhood where there are a lot of kids, so like it's actually quite enjoyable. Like I'm not one of those curmudgeons. I might seem like I would be one of those curmudgeons, and I maybe used to be, who's like kind of not a fan of having kids in the neighborhood, you know? But I love the presence of children means that a neighborhood is safe and vibrant and thriving, and that there is a future there, right? So I really like having children in the neighborhood. And they were doing snow angels, they were doing snow fights. It just was really lovely. So yeah, it's just nice. And I didn't go anywhere for a couple days. And then it just goes away so fast. That's the thing that's kind of surprising about it. Back home, and now see, I had my first real dose of homesickness. So, moved from Kansas up to the Pacific Northwest, and it is, it's bitter. It's bitterly cold back where I am from. And I found myself like, I was texting my sister and I was like, I wanted to ask her like, oh, you're out and about this week. Isn't it supposed to snow, or like isn't it supposed to be super duper cold? Because I had been seeing some of my friends talking about it on social media, like back home, and I just had this intense pang of homesickness. It was the weirdest thing. I hate the cold. It is part of why we moved up here, is because both of us really, we don't really love winter. We prefer the kind of more mild climate kind of situation. So it's so funny to me that I'm missing it. I miss being back home and how cold it is, even though I hate that shit. Yeah, because the brain is programmed to associate familiarity with safety, obviously, blah, 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 whatever. Like psychologically, it makes sense, but it still feels silly when you're experiencing it. You're like, I miss clearing the ice off my windshield in fucking 7-degree weather and it's windy. No, we don't really miss this. But yeah, here it's nice. You get like the 2 days of inconvenience of having snow around, and then it's kind of gone. I'm gonna be moving to Minnesota. I've missed the snow. Hey, holla, Travis. That's awesome. Minnesota, you know, I know a lot of people who live there. I just was like, I don't want to be in a place where the summers and the winters are at least as extreme, if not more extreme, than where I came from. So, yeah, brain is weird. It's true. My doodle will thrive, though he loves the snow. Oh, yeah, they have that really thick undercoat on the doodles. Good morning, Liz. Welcome in. Hello, Fen. Mersh says we got snow, ice, and torrential rains where I am. See, there's a reason why I did not want to move to the East Coast. I'm not trying to live in fucking Hurricane Alley. I don't want that. Lovely new hairstyle. Thank you. This is just my, actually, I think it was the night before last that I put my hair up in a bun to go to sleep, and then I didn't take it out at all yesterday. Or maybe I like put it back up while I was brushing my teeth yesterday or something, but then I slept in it last night. And so this is the look of a bun that I have slept in at least one night. And I at the very minimum need to fix it. I was like, my hair is not the cleanest right now, so I don't really want it down. Like, let's see what it looks like when it's down. Oh my god, a handful of hair just came out in my hands. Ah! Always terrifying. It's like, this is how you scare a femme. Take a femme to a haunted house, and it's gonna be things like, all your hair fell out while you took a shower and shit like that. Let's see. What does she look like today? I mean, it's just greasy. It's a little bit greasy. I think the last time I washed my hair, I didn't wash it, like, as thoroughly as I normally would. Hello, Baphomet. Welcome in. Hi. Kitty says, I'm happy about this week. I've crushed my way through 2 more of the Otherland books since the last stream on audio. 52 hours of book. Nice. Audiobook is nice in that way, where you can just put it on while you do other things. Yeah, for sure. I've been listening to a lot of stand-up this week. If y'all know Josh Johnson, he's extremely funny, and it seems like his whole shtick is like, he's keeping on the pulse, and then he like has these explanation sets where it's comedy, but it's like, it's comedy explaining some recent current event. So it is like, it's funny because it's fucking comedy, but it is also technically a way to keep abreast of the news, and maybe even some aspects of the news that I did not originally hear about. Not even femme, and that terrifies the living shit out of me. I mean, true, yeah, I guess masks, y'all care about losing your hair too. I'm jealous at how thick your hair looks. Mine is so fine it breaks just by looking at it, and frizzes everywhere. I mean, I can't, this is like locked in place physically, so I can't like, it's like, I don't even know how to describe to you how thin my hair is compared to what it used to be. Like, the fact that you can see through the thicket of my hair, it is actually a lot thinner than it used to be. It falls off a lot. I'm actually thinking about like starting to use minoxidil on the daily again. You know, careful with the cat situation, but right. Josh is funny AF and kind of cute, not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, insofar as I really think about, I mean, yeah, Josh is cute. I'll say Josh Johnson is cute. He's an attractive man. He's got very symmetrical features. He seems a little too goofy for me. I guess. Off stage even, he's just a little silly for me to really think of him in that context, but he's an excellent performer. He is a spectacular writer. Bro, cuz this is what I've been thinking about, like, I'm starting to write, you know, and only one time in my life have I written comedy, and I did a really good job. It was a very short presentation, and I was presenting to a very specific room who would very specifically understand my jokes, right? Like, this is not a broad audience appeal kind of comedy. It was very targeted, but it was still fun. And so I'm thinking, and because I'm a writer now, I mean, shit, like, I haven't really been doing it that much lately, but I'm trying to get back into the groove of, like, probably the problem is that I have to edit now a project that I finished halfway like a fucking month ago, and it's like just really hard to get back into a project like that. But as a writer, I appreciate how funny Josh Johnson is, because it's like he'll be talking about something significant, poignant, political, and then he'll start talking about something else in the way that comedians, you know, they just flow from one topic to the next. They're like, And now I'm going to tell you about this other story, and it's going to seem kind of unrelated. And then, like, it goes on for such a long time that you kind of forget the original joke. Like, Josh is great at this. He goes off on a tangent, and he'll be like, he goes off on this whole thing, and it's usually something like a little bit more personal and relatable than whatever the political thing is that he's talking about. And I keep feeling the urge to lean this way to look at y'all over there. That's part of why I keep getting so off center. Writing can be so easy to stop doing and so hard to start again, kind of like working out. True. And I'm also trying to get myself to start working out again recently. I'll talk about that in a minute, though. But Josh, yeah. So he'll start whatever. He's like talking about AI or Elon or something. And then, he talks about that for a few, and then he goes off on some other tangent, maybe even a couple of different tangents. And then at the end of this long tangent, wherein you have forgotten that there was even an original different topic, he circles it back, he ties it back in. And that's like what's funny about it to some extent is like, I legitimately forgot that this was originally a conversation about AI. And now you've just been on here talking about like somebody getting the Skittles slapped out of the mouth. Like, it's just, and originally I saw him because Facebook realized that I will sit there and watch 3-minute stand-up clips. And so, yeah, I've been watching like little clips of his, and then I finally just like stumbled on him on YouTube. And I've been watching a lot of that, which is also part of why some of my original Wyandotte County accent is coming back. Like, recently stumbled on Josh's channel. I dig it. Abreast. True. Let me just say, and speaking on the subject of like trying to get myself to exercise again, I weigh more than I've ever weighed right now, which is fine. I'm not feeling any way about it. But my tits are huge. Like, it doesn't really work like right this second. If I lean over at all and like the arms come together a little bit, it's like boom, there's cleavage. Like boom, bang, there's cleavage. I'll be like on my belly on the floor, like messing with the cat or doing like a cobra, and I'm just like, damn, whose titties are these? Hi from South Africa. What's up? What time is it even though? I mean, I guess, you're like roughly European time zones, right? I guess it depends on where. South Africa, I guess, is a little bit further to the east. But anyway, that's the fucking point of Sunday streams starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Melena turned me on to him. Yeah, he's funny. I like him. I keep forgetting to read/listen so that I can log my reading for the winter reading program. There are some prizes. Ooh, nice. Man, I can't wait to go to the library. I still haven't done it. I still haven't gotten my library card. I've been living here for like, I mean, we're coming up on a month, I guess, but it's like, there's that sensation of like, wow, I've been living here for almost a month. I really need to fucking get my shit done. But then there's also, oh man, the ADHD striking really hard today. Oh man, I totally forgot what I was just saying. I first saw Josh on the Daily Show. Yeah, I know. I saw that he is a Daily Show correspondent now. And he's big. He's got like 1 million subscribers. I heard he's starting a new podcast by IDK Win/where. I've seen some podcast with Josh on it being recommended to me, but I don't know what it was. Travis, are you saying I'm here from the Olden Malcolm panel days? Like, you're here from back when I was on that Brother Malcolm? Was it even? I guess I did like a couple of different things with Brother Malcolm, who I do not like, by the way. It's not a big deal or whatever, but man, that guy's an asshole. I mean, maybe not to everybody. He just was kind of an asshole to me. Nothing wrong with huge boobs. True. Yeah, but so exercise, I guess is what I was about to start talking about. I don't feel any type of way about being heavier right now. But it's like hard to get yourself to start exercising. But I found some stairs recently. As in like a couple. Yeah, FTM Mongoose. I know who you mean. Yes, Brother Malcolm. I basically just did some Stairmaster this week. You can basically just say, I guess Stairmaster, you only go up though, and this was just like real stairs in real life, so I was just going up and down them, uh, which is so great. Interesting form of exercise. But so my calves hurt so bad, and I'm standing for today's stream partially because I believe that it's bad to be sedentary uh, when you're recovering from exercise. But man, my calves fucking hurt. They hurt. Oh my god, they hurt. What's up, Eric? Just got in from a wild blizzard. Nice. Wait, who's an asshole? Baphomet, I'm referring to this guy, like FTM Mongoose or FT Mongoose, Brother Malcolm, Goddammit Malcolm. Like, he's a trans man and he's Hispanic and he's Catholic, and I think that he's a little bit of a jerk. And he kind of like does, the kind of content that he does is a little bit sensational and whatever. IDK when I first started seeing Josh Johnson first, because my brain is a big pile of papers. He is fantastic. A big pile of papers with ADHD people digging through. But, yeah, he's very, very, very funny. Yeah, Goddammit Malcolm is a drama streamer now. Right, because he covered, the Poppy and Xena situation, right? And I'm like, yeah, you're trans, but also, like, you have as little in common with Poppy and Xena as is possible. And I, like, he has a tendency to talk about polyamory like it's, like, degenerate and, like, oh, it's inevitable that you're going to have drama if you're poly, whatever. Like, there's kind of that vibe. I'm not trying to quote him. I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of way that he treats it a little bit. And then he also was not particularly kind about Poppy being diagnosed with. I mean, there's all these questions about the legitimacy of her diagnosis and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But she claims to have dissociative identity disorder. And, like, the manner in which Goddammit Malcolm called that claim into question was just really inappropriate. And also, he was personally a jerk to me when I was on a panel with him. Oh, wow. It's inevitable that you'll have drama if you're mono too. Right, no, that's fucking true. No, absolutely. I've been monogamous for like 7 years, and it has been extremely difficult through most of that time. Ooh, John says, I have a third floor apartment with laundry in the basement, so I'm doing 18 flights of stairs today. Hot fucking damn. That's crazy. Sorry, I don't know if I feel like maybe I fucked up and didn't read this, even though I read it in my brain. Apparently, Goddammit Malcolm has a channel on his Discord which is specifically for poppy drama, and Gayfesh says it legit gets worse than KF in there. Oh my god. Couldn't talk for a second. So, yeah, that's, I just, whatever. It was fun sometimes to be on panels with him, but, like, the thing that really stuck out to me and really bugged me, of his treatment of me personally was, like, I mean, it was a lot of things, but since it all kind of blurs together because it's been like 3 years, I the moment in my mind that stands out is like I was invited to a panel, a debate panel, where I didn't know this until we got into it, but I was the only person representing my position, and there were 5 people arguing against me. And then the host was also against my position. So that was fun. But the premise of the conversation was, are trans people experiencing a genocide? And this was 2 years ago, right? So I basically was like, yeah, it is. And like, here's like, I pulled up the thing and I was like, here's all the different things, right? I can go through each one of these steps and I can substantiate with at least one example of that thing happening, if not more examples of that thing happening. And one of the ones was marking trans people, or like marking people as what they are. And in your mind, when you think of that, you probably think of like the pink triangle for gay men back in the day, or like, I guess anyone who was LGBT got the pink triangle. And then You might think of the Star of David that was put on Jews back in that time. Uh, so my one of my things was like, okay, so first of all, like not being able to change your documentation and being therefore marked as what you are on your documentation, that is in that subcategory of marking you, right? There's, like trans people. What did I say? I think what I said was ultimately denying people puberty blockers and interventions in childhood or in, teenage years, denying people those things is a means of marking people so that you will never be able to assimilate in society. And Malcolm was straight up like, Luxander, I know you're smarter than that. I'm like, bitch, how stupid are you right now? Like, that's the moment that stands out to me so much. I'm like, how fucking stupid are you right now that you don't think that denying trans people the opportunity to assimilate into society by having early interventions is not a means of marking them to make sure that everybody knows that you're trans forever? Like, dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. Man, I hate being smarter than people. Like, it's so frustrating sometimes. And it's like, so either he was being fucking dumb or he was being intellectually dishonest and trying to make me look dumb. And I don't really play with it either way. Like, so I don't know. Wasn't that the one where Zonia said trans people can't be genocided because we'll keep being born anyway? I don't remember what she said. I think the only thing I remember Zonia saying during that stream, which was like several hours, the thing that I remember her saying was basically like, I don't know exactly what it was. At some point, she indicated like she is in California. And she was like, well, none of these things are happening to me. And I was like, good for you. Like, okay, great. You live in California. Why the fuck are you here? Like, why are you here having this conversation with me? You live in a state where this shit does not affect you in any way. For like, what are you doing? I love the idea of witches stairs. Those are fun. Um, yes, I agree. There is a lot more surface area for friction to happen in polyamory. Baphomet says, I feel like most of the monogamous people I know, especially the cishet ones, have really unhealthy expectations of their relationships and partners compared to poly people, if that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I think that it does make sense. That people who are monogamous, like, they often don't have conversations about like what it there's like a lot of assumptions about what is appropriate, like who are you supposed to talk to, what are you supposed to talk about, like it's like way easier to cheat in a polyamorous relationship in a way because they don't have those discussions, whereas poly people are out here like right at the beginning of their relationships, even a lot of times are like, what i'm here's what I'm okay with, here's what I'm not okay with. If you and I have an agreement like this, I don't think it would be okay for you to do that per the terms of that agreement. Like monogamous people will get mad at you having friends and stuff, Like, oh my God, I've got a hair. It's like, you ever get one that's like a little bit dangly? There we go. Got it. It kept tickling my arm. Oh man, Travis is still in the goddamn Malcolm community. Says, I don't know that the way that they talk in that Discord is worse than KF because no one is getting doxxed. The most recent Poppy talk there has been about her mistreatment of her disabled adult kid and that dysfunction as harm. Well, okay. So I understand what you're trying to say. I've not been there, and I also don't frequent KF. But I think that the rhetoric, I think the implication from Gayfesh is that the rhetoric, the way that they talk about it, is more toxic than the way that KF talks about it, even though KF does more direct harm by doxing people. The poly convo has mostly boiled down to poly isn't bad, but sometimes bad people use being poly to try to gain more partners and not be held accountable in the same way as a closed monogamous relationship. Great, great, great. Are you saying that that's what the community consensus has come to in the Discord? Because that's not what Malcolm said with his whole chest. Like, I don't remember him being charitable like that during his videos that he made. Like, poly isn't fundamentally bad. Like, no, he was talking shit on like the entire concept of these things. Like, Kitty says, people on the right seriously struggle with the concept of a real argument backed by data. I think it's the tendency for them to be religious and take things on faith versus researching their conclusions. I was actually reading something recently, Kitty, that was um, like facts and statistics wise, like looking at populations, most people do not respond to information by changing their minds. Like, basically, the ability to change your mind about something seems statistically like a pretty significantly small minority. And I don't know if that's something biological. I don't know if that's cultural. I don't know if that's social. I'm not sure how much that has been studied across cultures, like across different countries and stuff. But it seems, I mean, at least in America, that people do not respond to new information by changing their minds. This, again, is one of the things that makes it very difficult for me to participate in society and why people are going to be looking at me sideways for the rest of my life as I continue to wear an N95. But like, it seems to be pretty rare. And I don't know if it's because we did not teach people like significant critical thinking skills. And it's like where did I get this shit from? I went to public school, you guys. I went to public school in like an underfunded public school system that served a lot of black people. So like the education that I got was not as good as it would have been if I was like in a white suburban neighborhood and things were better funded and everything. And like my parents brought me to church and stuff until like I was younger. And I don't know, it's just like we stopped going. And then when I was in like 11 years old, I realized that I didn't believe in God, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm an atheist now. But like where did the critical thinking skills come from? I do not remember being explicitly taught like this is how you come to know things. Jimsy says a few of my friends started a polycule about 2 months ago and it just fell apart. I mean, that shit happens like anybody who starts dating. Like, lots of relationships end in the first 6 months. I think it says a lot that you hold the grace and understanding that even though polyamory wasn't for you, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of what it's like when people think that they're trans and then realize that they are cis, but then they don't hold any ill will, because there are detransitioners out there. I've like read their accounts of detrans people who are like, yeah, it turned out that I wasn't really trans and that's fine. And like, now I understand what it's like to go through the world being hated the way that trans people are, and it gives me more empathy or whatever. It's like, yeah, for being polyamory, I'm like, whatever. It didn't work out for us, but that's partially because statistically, like starting a relationship monogamous and then becoming poly is like kind of fucking impossible. Like it just isn't something that's good to do. It doesn't typically work out. And like we both had bad attachment issues, and like I had like fear of abandonment that I didn't know that I had, or that had developed over the course of time. Like I just like got really freaked out about it in ways that I wasn't anticipating, because I was the one who drove it. I was the one who was like, I want to pursue other relationships. But here's the thing, you also shouldn't take a situation where you feel unheard in a relationship and like instead of addressing that problem, you just try to fill the void that you're not getting with other partners. Like, this is me in my 30s looking back at me in my 20s and going, you were trying to fill a void because you were not getting what you were needing. And instead of being like, I'm going to break up with you and get that from someone else, I was like, let's make an open relationship and I will get that from someone else. And of course, I wasn't thinking about that at the time. But like in retrospect, that's clearly what was driving the behavior. you know? So I can't hold polyamory responsible for me trying to fill my needs in a way that was fucking stupid. And like maybe if I hadn't done that all whole mess in the first place the way that I did, maybe I would be more open to an open relationship now. But I still think I have a lot of healing to do before I could even go there. And I'm very happy in my relationship now. I am getting those needs filled in a way that I wasn't before. Same relationship feels very different now than it did 10 years ago. But yeah. Like the only bummer about it is like I don't date women. That's like the one bad thing about it. About being monogamous is like, oh yeah, I do kind of feel like this missed opportunity. And like I'm kind of starting to understand the kind of like what it feels like to identify with lesbianism. Like I'm starting to understand that a little bit more. And but I mean shit, part of that is accepting that I'm femme in a way that I feel like I still struggled with for a really long time. I am like not a woman still, but like I'm kind of okay with occupying that sort of space in society just because there isn't really like a clear cut non-binary space. And like I don't really want to do any of the things that would be required to make me outwardly visible as transmasculine. I'm not going to bind ever again, probably. I'm not going to have top surgery. I'm not on testosterone right now, and I don't feel any particular need to be on testosterone right now. I like having long hair. Like, you know what I mean? Like, more in my life now, am I comfortable with my femness? And so when I think about being attracted to women or like I'm listening to Chapel Roan or something, I'm like, okay, I understand non-binary lesbians now, and I didn't used to because I was like viewing my relationship more in the context of like me being transmasculine in a relationship with a cis het man, you know? Complicated. But now I'm just like, whatever. We basically look like a hetero couple and I don't fucking care. It actually makes me safer in society, so I don't care. Question mark. Being poly can be a scapegoat because it is other. I think it is becoming a bit more mainstream than it used to be, though. Yeah, I mean, at the very minimum, everybody needs to pay their rent, and so polyamory is building in popularity for that reason. Kitty says, I think it might be genetic because we evolved to make a choice and remember that choice. That mushroom will kill me. That animal is dangerous. Now we learn and then have to unlearn, relearn constantly, which is hard for a brain that is evolved to catalog info, and that info was life or death. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, so like you're saying that black and white thinking is evolutionarily advantageous because survival situations tend to be more black and white, like either eat that or don't, either go near the cliff or don't, either go near that snake or don't. And it makes sense. Like, and like, even sometimes you'll come across an animal that looks dangerous but isn't dangerous, but it evolved to look like the dangerous animal because that helps keep it safe. And so you're still doing the thing you're supposed to do by categorizing that animal as dangerous and moving on. I see what you mean. Padfoot Sam says, I know that critical thinking questions went away on homework when I was in the 4th grade. Did you have those? I don't remember. Like, you know, I guess like I was always into puzzles. Like puzzles require you to be like thinking on your feet a little bit. I don't remember specifically having like critical thinking questions. And now, as someone who is trying to teach someone, I'm like, how do I give someone critical thinking skills? Like, what kind of assignments, what kind of projects can we do that will actually help someone be like, you know, well, where did that information come from? And like knowing how statistics work and being able to understand how statistics can be manipulated. King snakes are not venomous. Mensa puzzles. Okay, I don't know what those are. I need to pull that up. Mensa. We did just get another like puzzles book. We were doing this one. It's like a murder mystery called Myrtle, and then like Myrtle and Puzzle. We did just get another book that's got like puzzles in it, and I'm like, okay, this is part of it. Mensa puzzles. I want to look at it. Okay. Just like, yeah, logical thinking puzzles. Okay. Mensa logic puzzles. Logic puzzles. Like, that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to get to. Logic puzzles. Okay. Oh my gosh. There's just enough activity in the chat that I'm not paying attention to as it comes, and I'm like, oh my god. I gotta check paragraphs to catch up on. I do lots of Sudoku variants. I love Sudoku. Yeah. It's like the two things that I'm struggling with, like, how do you teach this, is like attention to detail and critical thinking. Like, we don't struggle as much with the critical thinking as we do with the, like, attention to detail. I'm like, I need you to notice things by, like, opening your eyes and looking and asking questions and, you know, taking the time. And I'm like, that's a skill that was beaten into me. So I don't know how to give that to somebody. Katie says, instead of talking about 50% of marriages end in divorce, let's all remember that 90% of relationships fail. Like, I had a total of around 20 relationships, and this one is the only, quote, success so far. Right, yeah, and I mean, like, defining success of a relationship as, like, we stayed together for a long time. Like, okay, well, if your grandparents stayed together for 60 years, but your granddad was, like, beating your grandma the whole time, is that really a successful relationship? Or, like, if you have a really intense, passionate relationship with someone that teaches you things about yourself and then you part ways and it only lasted for a year, is that an unsuccessful relationship? Or, like, what, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Mersh says there were actually workbooks from SRA in the 1970s regarding propaganda recognition. Also, Drea is right about Mensa puzzles. Dell's math and logic puzzles are good too. You can get them at the grocery store. Okay. So, yeah, these are some of the things that I'm like, how the fuck do you teach that to somebody? Especially when you're trying to catch up on 10 years of not being in public school. Like, I don't know, dude. Yeah, exactly. If you walk away better than before, is that not a success? Travis says, I've been with my boyfriend, my first partner, for 6 years, and we do well together, but my grandparents have been together over 50 years and hate each other, TBH. Yeah, like, is that how we define success? Mark Rober has a box he does monthly that teaches you about all kinds of science stuff. Even if he is Mormon, so 10% goes to his church. The boxes are really good, and he is a former NASA engineer. Mark Rober is. Wait. I didn't know that Mark Rober was Mormon. Is that true? Is that true? What? No wonder he's so weird. I'm like, he always comes across a little weird. He's also not a very smart human being. Like, he's got the engineering knowledge, but, like, bro, I watched his video on bed bugs, which was very informative. But this dude, like, went to a bed bug laboratory and they put one on his body, on his arm, so that it could feed off of him. And it wasn't until he had already been bitten that he asked, are there any pathogens I could get? Not a very smart human being, so I'm not like that. So that is weird, though. How are you a Mormon? What is wrong with you? but I get fucking, all right, whatever. Like, I guess Mark Rober fucking subscription box. I'm trying to do stuff that also doesn't cost a shit ton of money, you know? Like, if I can spend $13 once on a logic puzzles book that will last like a few weeks, that's good. But like, am I gonna spend like $20 a month for like a different project every month? Like, that's, you know. I find that scientific centered hobbies encourage critical thinking in my experience, but I'm also a huge nerd. Good point, though. You mean scientific centered hobbies in the sense of like hobbies that are just based on sciences, or do you mean scientific centered hobbies in the sense that like the hobby itself requires you to go through something of a scientific method? I know Smarter Every Day is a Christian because he always puts Bible verses at the end of his videos right next to artwork of a Narnia character. I've been new about that. I've been new about Smarter Every Day because, well, even if I hadn't been new this already, I used to go to a well, I used to go to several conventions every year, but one of them was called Skepticon, Skeptics Atheists Convention. Like, it is specifically that. They still hold it now, and actually props to them for holding to the skeptic morality. They require masking now after there was one year a couple years ago that ended up being basically a super spreader event and fucking everybody got COVID afterwards. They now, you know, take the steps to prevent that. So that's, you know, holla to your boys who actually care about fucking the professed values that they say that they have. But so anyway, I went to Skepticon one year and they had invited Destin Sandlin from Smarter Every Day to come speak. And you could tell that boy was nervous. Like, so many times during he was invited to speak, to be clear, to give a presentation. And he gave a speech and it was awesome, but he was clearly so nervous, like, as a Christian in a room full of people who he knows are there to be at an atheist convention. And so we were a little bit like, all right, you don't need to say like every other sentence, like, hedge everything you're saying with like, I'm a Christian, but it was a little bit silly. But he was great. He was nice. We met him. He told my partner that he had a voice for radio. He brought the backwards bike because that was the premise of the talk that he gave, was about he had a bike engineered, a bicycle that like, so normally when you are riding a bicycle, when you turn the handlebars, the wheel kind of goes with it. But he had a bike engineered that when you turn the handles to the left, the wheel actually turns to the right. And the talk that he gave was kind of about the plasticity of human brains, basically, that he had to spend like 6 months learning how to ride the backwards bike. But once he knew how to ride the backwards bike, he then couldn't ride a regular bike anymore. And then it took like another 6 months of relearning the regular way to then be able to do it both ways. But at the time that we saw him, he could not ride the regular bike anymore. And then my partner got a chance to ride the backwards bike. I didn't take the opportunity. I was like, I know I'm gonna fall on my ass in this fucking hotel parking lot. But it was a lot of fun. Destin was really nice, but it's weird to me too, this in the same kind of way. But he's like at least a Christian in a more normal sense than a Mormon. Like a Mormon, you know, they're called the Church of Latter-day Saints. They are so much more real about the whole like future proofing against the rapture than Christians are. Like, it's so strange. I've learned some stuff about Mormonism recently. Destin, you mean Destin? Seems like a nice guy. Not so sure how good his parenting is. I am immediately sus of any father whose children call him sir. Yeah, that is a little weird. There's a hierarchical power dynamic that Christians believe in that I'm sure is present, even if he is like super duper nice to his children and never like physically harms them in any way. Like, it is still like a strange power dynamic, but you know, whatever. It also kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Way of Water, which if you haven't seen it by now, I'm sorry. It's not really like a spoiler, but like Jake Sully, you know, he fucking hooks up with Neytiri in the first movie, and then by the second movie, it's been years and they have kids, and his kids call him sir. And that, I think, is because Jake Sully is a Marine, and the only form of hierarchical structure he has experience with or understands is a military structure. So to him, he has joined a besieged people who are like under attack by the humans. And so he is raising his boys in a way that feels very militaristic. Like we are a squad, like, as opposed to being like a family unit. So I'm just saying that the concept of calling your dad sir, I can understand how like different types of hierarchical frameworks can end up with that result. And like obviously I think that type of power dynamic is probably inherently harmful because the relationship that you're supposed to have with your parents is not one of like strict authoritarian obey me or there will be severe consequences. It's supposed to be like the place that your kids can go to feel safe and to express themselves and to get emotional support. So it's like not an ideal way of parenting, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like I kind of get it. Skepticon sounds like an awesome transformer. True. It's weird how all the quote skeptic YouTubers ended up. Some like TJ became progressive leftists, but tons of them became fascists. I'll take your fucking word for it that TJ is a progressive leftist. I don't know shit about him because I'm still very salty about him publicly bullying a teenager and also being super fucking racist. I'm gonna die mad about it. But yes, it is interesting. I think because, and this is something that, these are observations that come from having been in the atheist community at the time and watching all this kind of happen back then, right? Um, but like a lot of atheists are not progressive. Like, you don't lose all of those Christian structures and beliefs and stuff by leaving the church, right? Yes, I am assuming that TJ is the amazing atheist. Uh, it was just somebody mentioned in the YouTube chat, and I took it to mean TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist. But yeah, so like when you lose your Christianity, like you don't lose all of your cultural conditioning just because you don't believe in the God proposition. There is a tendency among formerly religious atheist people, particularly the men, to be subscribed to a lot of the Christian power dynamic beliefs, like that men are superior to women, or like men are owed ownership over women, which is why we had like this is like I'm old. Um, this is what caused like the public face of atheism to kind of crumble in a way, was that like all of these famous men within that community were being accused of sexual impropriety, and there was like this culture of sexual impropriety, and women in the community had like a whisper network where they would be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, you shouldn't be alone in a room with that man. Like, nobody's like publicly talking about it, but please, for your safety, do not be alone in a room with that man. uh and even years after that initial bubble burst, like it was years after that David Silverman was accused of being sexually abusive within like a BDSM dynamic with a woman who at the time I knew and was like in community with pretty tightly. Um yeah, so it's just so strange how, I mean, and I guess it's not, because that's the difference too, is like not every atheist is a professed skeptic, right? Atheism is a belief or is a response to the question of like, is there a God? Like, oh man, the ADHD brain is hitting hard today. Yeah, so atheism is just a response to the God proposition of like yes or no, right? Like, and an atheist says no, I don't think there's a God. Skepticism can be a way by which people become atheists if they have the values of like, I want to know what the studies say, or I want to know what the evidence bears out. I want to find the truth even if it is uncomfortable, even if it doesn't align with my values. And those things are not like mutually inclusive things. There are people who are capable of using the skeptic process, and they simply choose not to apply it to their religion, which is kind of how I felt about Destin Sandlin, is that he has all of the necessary facilities to question his beliefs and simply chooses to preserve his religious beliefs in a realm that he feels it is inappropriate to use those tools. But then, yeah, but like culturally, you'll come out of Christianity and like, I'm sure that there are also skeptics who themselves engage in these toxic behaviors that we could associate with like a Christian colonial mindset, you know? Oh my God, my eyeball. But you can choose to apply your skepticism selectively in the way that I just said about religious people. Skeptics can also selectively apply that framework to things like women being inferior or white people being superior, like in the case of fucking Sam Harris. Yeah, so people basically like just selectively choose to apply their critical thinking skills when they have them in the first place. A lot of the atheist debate guys from the early 2010s ended up bending the knee to Christian moral sensibilities, so I respect TJ a lot for not becoming that and still kind of keeping belligerent anti-theism alive in a way. Not defending his anti-SJW phase, of course, but he's grown past that and acknowledged it and moved on. Yeah, no, and that's great for him. I'm proud of him for that. I will die mad about it. Like, I just don't know how you, as like a late 20s, early 30s adult, like, think that publicly bullying a 17-year-old is appropriate. I'm not gonna get over it. It's one thing to be an anti-SJW, it's another thing to attack a fucking teenager on that level of platform. Like, sorry. I really like Milo, and Milo is thriving now, but, like, never gonna not be mad about it. Honestly, I feel more confident around evangelical Christians than moderate or progressive Christians because they're more familiar to me. Not in a way that I like them, mind you, but evangelicals are easy to manipulate in my experience. Sure, I think that evangelicals, more than most other Christian groups, they really believe what they say they believe. Many Christians will say, like, yeah, we believe to follow Jesus Christ and, like, love your neighbor and blah, 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 all this. And then they're very hateful people, you know? Evangelicals, they might believe some fucking heinous things, but at least they're honest about believing those things, you know? That's the thing. Always bothered me that the biggest skeptics in the Bible are so maligned in Christianity, such as Doubting Thomas. Man, I do not know my Bible stories the way I used to. Travis says, if you're into skeptic atheist and debunking stuff, I highly recommend Hannah Reloaded. She's a trans lefty nerd who talks about politics and movies and flat earth weirdos. She never really engaged in anti-SJW stuff and came out as a trans person and has grown a ton as a person. Let me look her up, because I know that on the line we're always, wondering if there's more people we can bring on. Although I guess if she's a trans woman, then maybe we're kind of like capped out and we're done bringing in more of them. Especially because we were hoping to have Katie back this year, and it doesn't seem like Katie has she has a thing on Thursday specifically that is in conflict with Takis, so she can't really be there. What am I doing? Hannah Reloaded. Who was this originally? Is this someone who I would have known originally? Did the channel go through a rebrand? Who is this? Like, am I gonna know who this was if I knew them 5 years ago? Because there was at least one person that I helped find out that they were trans 5 years ago, but then they decided that I was the devil, and then they stopped talking to me. It's so fucking weird. I've cracked so many eggs. She used to be part of the channel The Bible Reloaded with Jake, where they both did a comedic reading of the Bible. Her ex-partner is Actual Jake. Actual Jake is the corn guy, right? Yeah, he's the corn guy. Okay, cool. Neat. Okay, I don't know who she is then, but that's nice. It's not the person I thought it was. Oh man. Hey, Skeptoideus, what's up? Also, I don't really like this kind of content anymore. Like, God bless her for doing it. Hannah Reloaded, shout out. But like, I don't. This is not the kind of shit that I care about anymore. Eric says, yeah, Catholics, I think, are more weird, hidden messages of shame and cruelty, whereas evangelicals will just directly tell you they think God hates you. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Oh my God. That is actually very funny. Mm. Oh man. Doubting Thomas refused to believe that Jesus had risen until seeing him face to face. He refused to believe in rumors and stories and required evidence. Oh, yeah, and that's a bad thing. Skeptoideus says, what's really annoying is when someone makes a claim and you ask what evidence they have for it, and they say to just Google it. Like, no, motherfucker, you made the claim. Yeah, that is frustrating. I'll do it. Like, I don't really enjoy wasting my time, but I will. I'll be like, hey, even if it's a let me Google that for you link that's like, that the result then is a bunch of things that I think you should read. Like, yes, you should read about it. It's like, the question though is like, okay, are you gonna believe me? Like, okay, because I'm usually talking to morons, right? Like, if I'm doing this, you know, if you ask the moron to provide proof, they're not going to, you know? But like, if I want to convince the moron, will they be more trusting of me saying it, or will they be more trusting of me going, here's a bunch of studies? Like, if someone was asking me, like, why are you still wearing a mask? You know, COVID's over, right? If I was to be like, actually, about 1,000 Americans die every week from COVID, and I would like to not have that be me. You know, it's like, are they gonna how are they gonna respond to me saying that, or should I say like, oh, let me pull up the CDC data really quick and show you that 1,000 people are still dying a week in America from COVID. I don't really understand how most people's brains work. Kitty says, the Mormons are more weird than people will even believe because, one, they have changed a lot over the years, and two, only the Scientologists are better at changing history than the Mormons. The information age has been really tough on religions like theirs. Fair enough, dude. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't calling you dude. Sorry. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you go to Google and you find evidence, many people are just gonna Mott and Bailey that shit. They're just gonna be like, well, I'm gonna retreat to a more defensible position. Most people respond better to emotional rhetoric than cold facts. Yeah, and like it feels like the numbers thing, like when you start abstracting things to numbers, I feel like people really are physically incapable of grasping it. And I don't mean like because they're stupid, I mean because human brains are kind of only really meant to process this many things at one time. Like, even if you look at a grouping of objects, like when you get past like maybe five or six objects, your brain starts like breaking them up into smaller chunks. Like, I used to count cigarettes because I worked at a gas station, and you needed to count, like, at the beginning of every shift, someone counted the cigarettes that were present on the thing to make sure that no one was stealing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I got really good at like being able to visually be like 5, 4, 7. But like when you get more than 6, you start looking, like when I get to 7, I'm looking for the 3 with the 1. Like that's how my brain processes 7. You're physically kind of not meant to process numbers bigger than that. it becomes extremely abstract when you get to more than like if you get to like 20, you're starting to get to a point where the brain has to abstract and think like, okay, that's like a chunk of people standing together, you know? And then once the chunk of people gets large enough, like you're physically not capable of actually processing how many different human lives are in that one stadium or in that one country or what have you. Girl, the hair, it keeps doing this to me. So I guess, yeah, if someone were to ask me, like, why are you still wearing a mask? COVID is over. I would just be like, hey, um, yeah, like, I don't want to die. Like, I guess that's the best answer. Or, like, I like the idea, too, of saying something ominous. Like, if you knew what I knew, you'd be wearing a mask, too. And then just fucking ending the conversation. Like, I kind of think that fucking with someone in that way might actually be the most effective, because then that motivates them to be like, there's something I should know, you know? Like, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of just being an eldritch being that enters people's lives temporarily. Chunks of people standing together sounds like the start of a horror movie. True, yeah. I'm pretty sure the human brain has to abstract anything past 6. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm saying. Like once we get to like there are 7 there, I'm thinking 331. I'm not really thinking 7 in order for my brain to like be able to count them. Like either it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or I'm looking for the 3 and the 1, and it's more about like smaller chunks and patterns. I'm so glad that Canada never got nasty about masks. I know a few people who still wear them and they mostly get left alone. Well, I mean, that's been my experience too, right? Like, I'm from a relatively like progressive-ish place in Kansas. Like, we have cities in Kansas that are kind of more blue leaning, right? Um, and then I moved up here and it's the fucking Pacific Northwest. Like, I do not live in the really deep red parts of the state. Like, both Washington and Oregon have very deep red parts of the state. I do not live there. I am never the only person wearing a mask when I go to the store, unless it's like fucking Home Depot or something. In which case, like, yeah, typically there aren't as many people wearing masks in the Home Depot. But at the grocery store, yeah, sure, there's plenty of other people wearing masks, and mostly people are not hostile to me. Actually, before I left back home, I decided. Oh my god, excuse me. I decided to visit a coffee shop that I hadn't been to in a long time because I was like, oh, I haven't been here in forever. I used to meet people here all the time. Like, you know, if I ever wanted to hang out with somebody outside of work or whatever, or like if I wanted to meet up with a friend. So I'm like, yeah, I have lots of fond memories of this coffee place that I haven't been to basically in like 8 years. So I went. And while I was in there, ahead of me, there was like presumably a woman and her, like she had a kid with her who was like, I'm gonna ballpark and say about 7 or 8 years old. It's kind of hard for me to tell how old children are, but I'm gonna ballpark it and say 8. And he was looking at me and he said like, you know, you don't have to wear a mask in here. And I didn't have an opportunity to say anything because the grown up that the kid was with was like, hey, they can wear a mask if they want to. Or maybe said she can wear a mask if she wants to. And I was just like, I'll leave it there. Like, I think that that is an appropriate intervention. At the very minimum, teaching a child, like, leave people alone. You know, like, other people can choose to wear a mask if they want to. I think that that is a decent enough lesson. But I still mull it over. Like, how would I have replied if that adult hadn't made an intervention with their kid? I'm not sure. Like, because you're thinking of different levels. If it's an adult, I'm definitely going to say something fucking creepy and unsettling if I think about it fast enough. It's like, if you knew what I knew, you would never have stopped wearing a mask. And then just dip. Just, like, leave. Just, like, bye. You know, like, bye. I would love to just, like, absolutely throw a wrench in someone's day like that. But if it's a little kid, you know, like, I don't know that there is a better reaction than just saying, because, like, what? Am I going to tell this kid that COVID is serious and now that kid is going to be in a constant power struggle with the adults in their life? as they try to beseech the adults they know to wear a mask. Like, I don't think that that's going to happen. By the way, I can see that there is stuttering on the stream, and as usual, there is nothing I can do about it. Thank you for not complaining. I do not know if I am ever going to have decent enough internet here. I might talk to my partner about upgrading our plan, or like maybe even just contacting the internet people and being like, hey, can you ensure that all the connections are good? Because sometimes, like last week, my internet was just randomly turning off and on right before stream. Actually, earlier this week, my internet was literally turning off and on. They were noticing higher ping on the Wi-Fi, but I'm hardwired in, and I was like, it's just fucking turning off sometimes. Which of course I ended up like resetting the router, and it seemed like it stopped doing it, but it was frustrating for a minute. So I don't know when the internet was installed here, if it needs to be just like let's maybe double check that the penetration is still in good condition. I would say I have a lot of reasons to wear a mask. Yeah. I mean, I guess with a little kid, like, just, you always keep it simple and just say, I don't want to get sick. And we know that masks keep people from getting sick, so I don't want to get sick, and it's as simple as that. True, Travis. Yeah, still masking because there's like 6 illnesses ravaging my state right now. There's a tuberculosis outbreak back in Kansas City right now. I fucking got out right before a tuberculosis outbreak in Kansas City. Got tuberculosis, we got RSV, we got flu. Apparently, this has been like the most deadly flu season since 2016, 2017 winter. Like the winter of 2016, 17. This is the worst flu season we've had, apparently, in years. Say, I am wearing this so I don't make you sick. I feel like for a kid, like, again, like, part of the thing about appealing to the self-interest of people is like, oh, well, I'm wearing this because I don't want to get sick. Maybe you are okay with getting sick like 4 times a year, however many times you've been sick this year, but I do not want to get sick all year. You can make the same choice that I did to just not want to get sick for yourself. You know, obviously, as community care leftists, disability activists, we want to be able to stick with rhetoric that's more like, you could be preventing someone else from getting sick, but let's be real. Let's meet people where they are. We live in a highly individualistic society that does not give a shit about other people. Appeal to people's self-interest. It's a good thing. If you can, try setting up a static IP and enable IP routing. Oh my god, that sounds like a lot of work, Skeptoideus. I'm sorry, I'm not that tech savvy. Did you hear about the hockey game? So Peacheek, what's up? So did you hear about the hockey game that had a US and Canada team, and the Canadians were booing the American national anthem and a fight broke out? I heard about the booing, but I didn't actually hear that a fight broke out. But it's fucking hockey, so like, you might as well have just said there was a hockey game, and like my brain would autocomplete. Probably there was at least one fight. Apparently it's now a Canadian tradition to boo the American fucking national anthem. That's funny. That's good. My understanding is that wearing a mask does not really stop you from getting sick. It stops you from spreading airborne viruses to other people if you are sick and do not know it. That is the primary way that they are effective. They are primarily effective in that it keeps your germs close to you, but it 100% does make a difference in slowing the spread of illness to you. Like, you are less likely to get sick. Let me see if I can find it, actually. I mean, the CDC straight up says masks can protect wearers from breathing in infectious particles from people around them. It is less effective. I am not going to say, like, 100% mask wearing is the way, because it's about people not spreading it. But I go out in public everywhere all the time. I go to the grocery store. I typically try to go during times of the day where it's not busy, but I go places. I used to go to the gym 4 days a week, and I never got sick from it because I wear a mask and I wash my hands, and I know, like, there's like nasal sprays that I can use that make it even more effective. Like, if I needed to go be in a concentrated small place with people, I feel like I have enough safeguards that I could put in place that I would feel relatively comfortable that I would not get sick, you know? I suspect that the N95 mask is what is required to protect the wearer. Yes, high quality masks are going to do more for you, but other masks still help. They still do something, even if it's less than the N95. Like it has been studied, and like even somebody who's wearing a mask incorrectly is still reducing, they're at least reducing spread. But like a certain portion of the air that you're breathing in is still being filtered, even if it's less. If you're wearing like a loose mask or a mask that doesn't fit quite right, like it literally is still filtering the air. It's less effective, but it's not ineffective. And that's what I think is important. Like, yes, we want to use, I personally want to use the most effective methods, but any masking is better than no masking. And I just want to, like, you know, obviously I do prefer N95 or KN95, but it is, I still appreciate the gesture when people are wearing any mask. It does still make a difference. It's like how climate scientists say that even though we are kind of reaching a sort of point where we won't be able to easily fix things, and the desired result is to get to zero carbon emissions by like 5 years ago, it does still every bit of carbon that you don't use still makes a difference. So, you know, I'm like following sort of similar logic here. It's still so wild to me that fighting is just baked into hockey. I know, it's funny though. Dally says, yes, when I went from masking during cold and flu season in 2018 to then full time, I was less sick overall in 2019 with my chronic illnesses. Yeah, it does make a difference. So take that information and do with it what you will. I feel paranoid about illnesses because the health department isn't tracking or releasing information to the public anymore. We're flying in the dark. If we all were just fucking masking everywhere, there would be no reason for any paranoia. Just fucking wear it everywhere, all the time, everywhere. I have like a couple of my friends were like, well, we just got COVID for Thanksgiving or for fucking Valentine's Day. And I was like, guys, wear a mask. Like, seriously, bird flu is about to pop off. Please wear masks. And one of them responded like, oh, we're going to be good. We're not going to go anywhere while we're sick. And I was like, no, but wear a mask all the time is what I'm trying to tell you. Even when you are not sick or when you think you're not sick, just do it all the time. But it's like, I'm Cassandra. I'm just like, hey, you're all going to die. And everybody's like, get out of here, bitch. I don't care what you have to say. Like, just because the ship is sinking, you don't stop throwing water. You keep bailing till you hopefully make it somewhere at least still livable. Right, exactly. Like, any little bit that you can do to at least, like, maybe you can't protect yourself from getting sick forever, but maybe you missed, like, 3 different times that you would have got sick. Anyway, I know people don't like it when I hammer on this all day, but I'm going to. So I meant to, like, you know, do a little bit of set design this week, and I have been doing it, like, in my brain, but I did finally get the shelving I ordered. I ordered some floating shelves, and I think they're going to be cute. They're like, hold on, let me grab one. They're a little bit smaller than I was expecting them to be, but there's 3 of them, and one of them is kind of bigger. And so these are just gonna kind of go like, I'm building some ideas here, because basically this entire corner from as you further than you can see here to further than you can see on the other side have to be done in something. Like, there has to be something. The set has to bleed off the edges of the actual set. So I'm kind of trying to figure out some things, and like, how do I do whatever? There's a big bean bag over here, and I've got the pillow. You can kind of see the top of the pillow there. So I've got a big bean bag here, and then I like the moon design. Yeah, it's kind of got like that neo-pagan thing going on since my altar isn't in the background anymore. I don't even have a setup altar right now. I feel bad. But like right now, I have a portfolio here. It's a large portfolio. It has like paintings and stuff in it that previously were on the walls. And I'm like, I don't really want it here. But if I take it out of here, then that entire part of the wall is going to be Echo City. So I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, I think I might hang some sheets or something. And so this entire part of the wall will just kind of look like it has curtains going on. And then, like, but like, where am I? Am I standing in front of a thing that's just like curtains right here? Like, I'm basically in the center right now. I would not be in the center if I was standing in the correct place. Like, I mean, I'm close to the center-ish. But like, yeah, it's like, but I guess I would rather have whatever's playing right behind me. But I think that that's going to leave that wall open at the bottom. I don't know. Does it matter if it's echoey behind me? And I don't even really sit during streams anymore, apparently. I was talking with one of the pharmacists where I live, and we talked about how fast viruses mutate, and that it's only a matter of time before bird flu can transmit from human to human. Yeah, actually, a few months ago, bird flu had a very major mutation that brings it one step closer, and maybe even only 1 or 2 steps away from being human to human transmission. So, like, take that shit seriously, everybody. Bird flu is not gonna be mild. It's not gonna be mild. I still like the idea of making a faux dragon cave behind you with eyes that light up. I do like that concept. And I did think another thing that I could do is I could get some foam, like big chunks of foam, and like carve it into rock shapes and then kind of like add some texture to it to make it like rocky. But I would need a lot of foam. This is actually a lot of wall. It's more wall than you think it is. And like, it would require, like, a shit ton of foam, but I also think it would look weird if there was only, like, part of the wall that had rocks on it. Like, let's say if I just did this part of the wall with rocks on it, I feel like that would still be weird. What happened to the vines? They're in a plastic bag right here. Plastic bag of vines. It turns out my cat will eat these if they're on the floor. So, anyway. Oh, I guess I have one of my lights set up technically. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm gonna have to like bring up my camera and turn it on and make it full screen in order to like put together the set design. And also keeping in mind, like, I don't necessarily want to use this camera for my video essays. I might set up a different camera in a different place. I have a beanbag chair right here. And I have legitimately considered the possibility that sometimes I might record parts of my videos like sitting down in that beanbag chair. So then that corner on its own down there needs to have its own little tiny miniature set design. Make it an ongoing project that people can watch as you stream over months. I mean, necessarily stuff like that does come piece by piece. Like, I'm definitely... What, like, Demon Mama has done before is she takes off, like, 2 weeks of additional time when she moves. And she takes that 2 weeks to, like, put her set together, and then, boom, it's the set, and it's ready. I think I am not going to be able to take off that much time. Currently, I'm the only person making money in my home, so that's why your donations are so useful. It's like, my partner is looking for an employment right now situation, so I can't take off 2 weeks and just build the set and then start streaming again. And I definitely did not have the capacity to do that during the time that I took off stream earlier anyway. So yeah, we're just doing what we can. So naturally, this probably will come in fits and starts and in pieces. I did consider, I was like, maybe I could do some of this during stream. That would be boring AF though. If I'm just like over here, like moving stuff around and like holding it up against the wall and like, yeah, anyway. And, I also think that it is a little different. Like, the vibe that I'm trying to create during stream is perhaps a little different than the vibe that I'm trying to create during video essays now. But I don't know, man. Like, whatever. I need to pee so badly right now. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. But don't go anywhere. Okay, thanks. I've been surprisingly into bird watching recently. Do you miss bills when people donate? I mean, we're not at that point yet. I mean, um, I still have money from the GoFundMe, basically, that is helping with, stuff like, groceries as we get close. And, like, yeah, obviously, like, fucking buying, like, floating shelves for my set. Um, Little things like that. But yeah, I mean, in like a month, uh, I'm probably gonna be like, shit. But right now it's fine. But no, I've been watching birds a lot because there are just like a bunch of them up here, which, like, obviously bird flu, not today, Satan, stay away from me. However, I saw a woodpecker this week, but it was like a little one. You got little woodpeckers up here. I saw a bird that looked like a robin, and I spent a little while trying to figure out what it was, and it turned out it was a western towie. I was like, okay, legit. Now I know what that is. But there's just like, trees. Way, way, way more trees. And I think that's part of it. So, like, basically anywhere you go, or, there's trees in every neighborhood. So anywhere you go or anytime you look out the window, it's like, oh, hey, look at that. It's more birds that I didn't see before. What happened to the vines? Can I have them? No, you can't have the vines. I'm gonna use them. I just don't want to. I think it was really boring before, just having like an entire wall of just vines hanging down. I'm like, that kind of sucked actually. So part of what I want with these shelves is to like put them in different places. Um, and then the vines can either like twist on these, or they can dangle down, or they can kind of like connect one to the other. I don't know. I'm still gonna have to kind of figure things out a little bit. I might, well, I was gonna say I might want to create some like sketches and like some ways to imagine the space. I don't know how, like, there's no way to like really put these up and then just kind of see what things look like without actually putting holes in the wall. So I don't know, man. Don't judge the size of the peckers in the PNW. I'm not judging. I'm just commenting. He's little. He's a little woodpecker. Birds are overrated. Go bat watching. I don't want to do that. Oh yeah, I guess like if we hit the dono goal for today, the plan is for me to go get the cat and hold him against his will and make him be cute for you. So that is something. I don't. It's interesting. People are. I don't know, dude. I'm like, I want to fill out my taxes, and I'm hoping that I will get a tax return this year, which like I've owed the last couple of years because I'm self-employed. But I'm hoping to get some back this year. But I'm like, are there gonna be any tax returns this year? I'm sure someone has submitted their tax returns already, in January when you can start. Have they? Has anybody gotten a tax return this year? Are they even processing them? Like, is the IRS going to be able to do its thing? How has your cat adjusted to the move? It seems sometimes like when we're doing something he doesn't expect, he's a little suspicious and upset with us. Um, we had to have a maintenance person come in to fix something that was broken when we got here. And he was very upset that day. He was like, I can't fucking believe that there was a stranger in here. He did not like it at all. So, yeah, he's a little sensitive still, I would say. We kind of uprooted his entire life and put him in a cage for 4 days. Uh, but he's fine. He seems okay. As far as I know, they don't have their claws in the IRS yet. I guess I'll fucking have to do my taxes like this week. I haven't received mine yet, but my return is supposed to be shitty compared to previous years anyways. Yeah. And that's under Biden policies, right? Like, But yeah, there's some questions as to whether I'm even gonna get. Or is like everybody just gonna be expected to pay taxes? Like who? I don't know. They are planning to take over the IRS, but probably after the tax year. Oh, so like in January next year? Mersh says Trump is seriously considering laying off IRS agents right in time for tax season. I mean, shit, I guess that means that, like, there's going to be. This is something that I did not like that Biden did. I was pretty annoyed, actually. He was like, we're going to increase the staff of the IRS agents that audit people in the middle class. I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? Like, you're seriously, you're going to oh, we need to make sure all these people who, I mean, and I say middle class, like, really it's like, anyone in the lower to middle class that they're going to come after and be like, are you really paying all your taxes? Like, are you serious? I paid more taxes than fucking Jeff Bezos over the last couple of years. Like, you trying to tell me that this is the resources you need to spend? Like, God, that's annoying. Just got all my tax paperwork from my employer and investments. I can rarely file any earlier than late February or March. Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I could see them withholding payments. So, like, I'm, for the first time, I might actually, not for the first time, but for the first time in several years, might get a tax return on my federal because I'm going to be able to claim a dependent. But, like, they might just be like, JK, we don't have it. Like, I don't know what the. It's crazy watching a bunch of illegal shit happening. Oh, God, we haven't even talked about. We haven't even talked about it. What did he say? He said, he quoted Napoleon. He was like, a man when trying to save his country breaks no law. Which I was kind of like, what the fuck does that mean? The first couple times I saw it, I was cooking this morning. I was waking up a little bit, and I was like, oh shit. So actually, what he's saying is, I'm not capable of breaking the law because, like, any action that I do is exempt from being considered illegal because I'm trying to save my country. I'm like, oh, now I get it. He's saying I am the law. He's doing the dictator thing. So, yeah, like, all of this shit that they've been doing that everybody's like, oh my God, that's illegal. Like, yeah, okay, well, like, what do you do when the fucking people in charge of the laws don't care about the laws? It's an auto coup. Auto coup. Auto coup. I wish I was more musically talented. I think that would be a great song. I am a bit worried because some of my tax forms still have my dead name on them. Right, yeah. Aren't breaking the law if we try to get him and his ilk out of office? that's the problem with positioning himself as the law, is like, if you do anything against him, then that's treason against the country. And so, yeah, that's kind of the direction that we're heading with this, it seems. I'm like considering the prospect because I never ended up getting a passport, which I'm almost kind of grateful for right now. Because, like, okay, my birth certificate still says female. I never changed it. I also never updated my name on it. I probably should do that. But I was thinking about changing my name this year, actually, and going ahead and having it updated on my birth certificate then. And then I would have matching ID that says, you know, my legal name and says female. My birth certificate says legal name and female. Um, and then I could potentially submit for a passport, but like there is a record of me having changed my legal sex in the state of Kansas. But like I don't know if that is in a federal database right now. So I'm like, if I tried to get a passport with those documents that say female and say my new name, like would they withhold those documents in the same way that they have been doing for trans people right now? But there is no record of me changing my gender on a passport. I will say there is no record of that on the federal level, so I don't know. And I guess I could like hypothetically, I think that in a lot of material ways, these people would consider me detrans, like they would consider me a detransitioner. And I'm not sure if detransitioners who are, it's like maybe you are only safe if you then go the opposite way with it and you become transphobic. But like I think for many intents and purposes, many people would consider me detrans, even though I am still violently identifying as trans, and like I live my life that way. Uh, but yeah, it's like weird. These are the kind of questions that I think a lot of people who are a lot further in their transitions are probably thinking more in terms of like, how can I be stealth as my target gender? Whereas I'm like, I guess I'm receding into my assigned gender role because it's closer for me to attain stealth status that way. I don't know, man. It's pretty annoying. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually glad that I decided to start a different bank account. Like, now I have a separate bank account that all my money is going to come into, and it isn't the same one as the one that has been used for my tax returns in the past. Like, no, you're not about to take money directly out of my account. They did that in fucking New York. I'm sure everybody's heard about this. Or I don't know, maybe there's so much news going on that we're all only catching bits and pieces of it, but um, Feds seized $80 million in FEMA funds giving to New York City to house migrants. Feds cut $80 million FEMA grant to NYC over allegations of luxury housing for migrants. So, like, yeah, these were FEMA funds, which means, like, they're funds for people to use in emergencies. And remember, we actually just talked about this week. This week, we were just, like, talking about climate change bullshit again, and, like, in New York City, there was that crazy rainstorm a few years ago, a couple years ago, that like poor people drowned to death in their basement apartments. And FEMA is funding to get people out of basement apartments and into a high rise hotel or something temporarily, like so that they do not drown in their home during a climate disaster. And this money was approved by Congress, allocated, had already been sent, and this is why they wanted in the US Treasury. They took the money out illegally against procedure. Congress approves the budget, and this already illegal Doge. I've always said Doge, like when I read it, but I think that people are pronouncing this Doge, so I will consider it separate from the meme. But like Doge is not legally sanctioned. It is like an extra legal or illegal or like government agency that has not been approved by Congress, circumventing Congress, usurping Congress, reversing Congress actions. Like girl, like you can't even be doing anything unless Congress says you can, but they're just doing it. Would love to stealth, alas, probably never will. Yeah, yeah. But it's like, I don't even know if I am going to be able to fully successfully be stealth as female. I'm not going to try that hard, but it's like, yeah, there is a voice that I use when I'm out in public that I do not use on stream. um, it's not good. Yeah, this is what happens when you are told you have complete immunity. Yeah, like any action taken as part of his official uh duties as president is considered immune to the, and it's like, what the fuck? Oh man. Oh man. So I got in touch with someone about the community garden plots. This is what my brain does when I start spiraling out about things that I have no control over. I'm like, shoo, let me, like, I'm zoomed way out in my brain. Initially, I'm looking at a map of the United States, and I'm like looking at what's happening in like Washington on the East Coast and everything, and then I get really overwhelmed with that, and then I'm like, zoom, it's like pinch zoom on the map into my local area, and then I'm like, okay, what can I actually do? This is how I stay sane. um because I mean, really basically it's like when I can sense myself starting to go TOS about like, what do you do about the wizards who have been appointed to control our lives in the Supreme Court? What do you really do about that? And then when my brain starts processing the only viable solution to that question, I'm like, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna go see if my garden is there. There's a community garden very close to where I live. There's lots of them. There's one very close to where I live, and I got in touch with the people in charge. And like, it's such a big garden that it's technically two gardens, which is interesting. So I've been forgetting my window scallion. It finally died. Man, I I killed all my plants. I got rid of a lot of my plants, and I kept all the ones that were gifts to me from people who I care about, or ones that I wanted to keep like that. Um, but it was so bitterly cold. I think even if we had just put them in the car during the day, um, like I put all my house plants in my car, which we were towing behind the U-Haul. Um, but yeah, the it sucked. My plants, I've like cut all of the leaves off, and I'm like, maybe some of these will still have some life in the roots and they'll start putting up pups or something. But it kind of seems like I killed all of my plants except one that is supposed to freeze in the winter. I don't know. I got a new basil plant. He's doing okay so far. Basil really needs way more sunlight than you're typically able to give if it's indoors. Kitty says, I feel like if I show up on the Canada border with my ex ID and I'm like, so my country kind of deleted me, at least I have a backup plan for if things go completely to shit over the next 4 years. Lots of making this property pretty before I go to increase sale value while fleeing. I gotta. So, Kitty, my. And maybe this is easy enough for me to say because I can say things like, oh, I was trans as a phase and I am not doing that anymore. And like many objective things about my life, many material things about my life would back up that proposition, right? Like, so maybe I'm speaking from a place of relative privilege. I mean, however privileged it is to have to go back in the closet and like pretend to have detransitioned in order to not be put in a fucking camp. But I feel like I'm gonna dig in my heels. I'm like, I like it here. I want to stay here. I'm very excited about the prospect of establishing community here and making connections. I don't want to leave. And so part of the reason why we did move to the Pacific Northwest was so that we would be able to leapfrog up to Canada if that needs to happen. But I don't want to do that. Like, I'm finding myself feeling like, the plan for me, and again, the plan for me is not even short-term political survival. The plan for me is long-term climate change, climate resiliency, producing food and water, because we will not have those things. in like 10 years or less. So, I mean, like the food shortages and stuff is happening now just because we've decided to cut food safety standards. And that is already limiting my options. Where I'm like, yeah, I would love to get some fresh lettuce, but I don't want to eat fresh raw lettuce in a salad because it could have fucking E. coli or listeria on it. You know, like how, anyway, or bird flu residue from a fucking bird shitting on it or something. Like that you don't like wash it with soap before you eat it. Anyway, so for me, you know, I understand that sense of like, even if I live in the Pacific Northwest or even if I live in Minnesota, I still want to feel like I have the backup plan to go to Canada, and I understand that completely. But I think I'm going to dig in. I think my plan is to buy land here. I have a friend in Kansas who I'm nudging him. I'm like, hey, you know, so what if you and your girlfriend moved up here and we all bought land together? Um, and he did say he's like, I can't say I'm seriously considering it, but I have been looking at land, and I'm like, yes, boy, let's do this. Um, yeah, like I'm gonna dig in. This is where my roots are gonna be. Like this is where I'm gonna spread roots. I I for the longest time I wouldn't put any roots down in Kansas. I didn't want to hang out with people. I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to participate in the local community because I always knew deep in my bones that I was gonna leave. And now I'm in the place that I've wanted to be since I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was a little bit more of a romanticized idea of living in Seattle and being an artist or a musician or something. But now that I'm here, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't know. You can't make me go anywhere. You can't make me flee my country. So, yeah, I don't know. Not everybody gets to feel that way. Oh, okay, I see, John. Your last one got root rot. I'm sorry. Yeah, just, you know, make sure it gets to dry out a little bit between waterings or whatever. Time to make a little trans village out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's interesting because even in that arrangement, I would be like, if let's say that my younger sibling still lives with me at that point, like if we buy land and we decide, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and loop my younger sibling into it, like that's 2 people out of 5 who are trans. Still mostly cishet people, but you're not gonna get fucking anywhere unless you have a community with cishet people. I'm trying to grow some ginger right now. It's pretty fun. Ooh, I have considered growing ginger because ginger is one of those things that like well, I'm being a little bit more intentional about buying things too. So maybe I could buy fresh ginger and then use it instead of buying fresh ginger and then it dries out in my kitchen because I forget about it. Anyway. Mersh says, I had a little fun with a bigot recently. He told me that I was, quote, woke because I had facial hair. I corrected him and told him I was, quote, broke because I couldn't afford a new razor. He laughed and left me alone after that. We were both buying groceries and complaining about prices as well. That's kind of funny, actually. Like, I wonder what impact that had on that man's life. Because I'm assuming, Mersh, that he perceived you as female who has facial hair. And you managed to cleverly communicate several things there. You communicated like, well, this is a natural thing that's happening to me. And I don't really have any control over it. Although I guess like, you know, you could play it off the same if you were trans. And like, I know that it's your endogenous hormones that are doing this though. So like as an intersex person saying like, actually I'm not like, cause you said you're like, I'm not woke, I'm broke, playing on the go woke get broke whatever, and you're like, actually I'm broke, I don't have a razor, which kind of implies like yeah, whatever, this is just a thing that happened to me. I'm not woke, like I'm not trying to do it for woke reasons, I'm just doing it because I haven't had a shave in a bit, you know? Like it's really interesting. I wonder what that did to that person's life for him to be like, fucking this bitch and her beard or whatever in his mind, and then you're like, Lamau, actually, this is not something I can control. And I'm like, I just am too broke to afford a new razor. I don't know, it's so weird. Ginger is my favorite spice. Most people double the garlic when they cook. I triple the ginger, and most of my recipes include it. Nice. By the way, ginger tea with star anise is heavenly, especially in the cold. Ooh, I might try that. Like, if you are you just taking fresh ginger and like, what do you like grate it, and then like put it in water, hot water, and then star anise. Because, like, fresh ginger would be easy for me to get. Star anise, I have a bunch of it because it's fall spices and it's good for making fossil. So I could straight up do that. Ginger is supposed to be super good for you. Ginger and turmeric, they're supposed to be super duper healthy for you. I would love to be that annoying person who takes a ginger shot in the morning. I don't know if I have the constitution for that. Ginger snap cookies. I don't really like snappy cookies. I prefer a softer cookie. But I'm a big fan of, like, ginger candy. Like ginger candy. Anyway, oh my god, what else even was there today? There were a couple of videos that y'all had placed in the stream recommendations channel. Where is it? Thin sliced ginger and 1 or 2 stars of anise, and then honey, because I like it sweet. Humor is good at diffusing tension. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not really curious about the tension being diffused because it's very clear to me that that is what happened in that situation. But my question is more like, did that impact that person's beliefs? Like, did that bring that person closer to feeling like someone who they see as woke is actually just a person who has a life experience of a thing that's happening to them? Which, like, and, you know, Mersh also could, like, I think you're old enough, Mersh, that you could just say, I'm going through menopause, and this, like, growing a beard happens to women who are going through menopause, even though I know you are intersex. Like, you have that to fall back on, though, too, to be like, yeah, well, I mean, this is what happens to older women. Have you, like, do you have a wife? You know, like, you can kind of play around with that a little bit. But I'm just so interested in, like, is it even possible for us to use humor to... I mean, I know a lot of people will say that the normalization of bigotry through humor is part of what has led to this place now where people feel like they can be openly racist or whatever. Like, saying that it's a joke is cover for the thing that you said that you meant for it to be racist, and you're just saying that it's a joke in order to kind of, like, slip it into normal conversation or what have you. Yeah, I mean, I think because it is good at diffusing tension, it is probably a good way of addressing uncomfortable conversations. Happens to PCOS girls sometimes too. Yeah, but like that, the PCOS thing is like less common and relatable. Like, most people have a grandma or a mom who ended up developing whiskers later in her life. So I think it's a little bit more relatable to just be like, yeah, I mean, have you ever met a woman? Like, have you ever met did your grandparents die before you were born? Your grandma never had the chance to show you her whiskers? ContraPoints has a great way of using weaponized sarcasm to disarm people. Sure, I'll just let that stand. I don't know, dude. I just don't like her anymore, so I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna really give her any credit for anything, I guess. My voice is deeper as well. I do seem different. The fact that I was not intimidated disarmed him, I think. This is another thing that I want to teach my younger sibling. Like, okay, I do think that bullies pick certain targets for a reason, right? They pick targets that are isolated. They pick targets that are physically small. They pick targets that walk alone. Like, they pick targets who look like they can be victimized, right? So to some extent, whether you are a target can be influenced by things about you, which is, I'm trying to be really careful not to do victim blaming here right now, because I'm trying to explore a concept. Someone I know on Facebook was recently like, for those of you who strive for kindness in your lives, do you find that people, react to you in a way that is much more like, well, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was basically trying to say that as a person who endeavors to be kind, people take advantage of that and they treat me shittier than they would treat other people. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. I do endeavor to be kind in my life. Like it is it's like important to me to be well liked, to be socially accepted, to not be a dick for no reason. I endeavor to be kind in my life. I do not have this problem where like people blow up at me when they wouldn't blow up at other people, and neither does my partner. My partner is very similar. He's like, I am always nice to people, like even when I disagree. I'll be strong in my position, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like direct attacks against anybody or whatever. It's important to maintain professional, um, that level of professionalism in all interactions, even if you're not at work, right? But we don't have this problem, and I think the thing is that something that we have in common is the way that we carry ourselves is related to the way that we feel about ourselves, which is like, I'm not going to be disrespected like that. And the way that you carry yourself can give that impression, and people can look at you and they can see that. And part of that is, I agree, Mersh, that you are not intimidated. If you walk with confidence, you walk like you can handle yourself, you walk like if somebody starts an altercation with you, it's about to be a problem for them. I think that is valuable. Like standing up straight, walking with confidence and purpose. And like, I think that it is the kind of thing that you probably could fake until you make it. You probably could start embodying those physicalities that you don't really fully mentally vibe with yet. And by doing the physical thing, bring your mind into a place where you feel that confidence and you aren't just faking it. Darth says, I found out the trick is to be content in who you are and be assertive towards any possible bully. They will be intimidated by that and possibly feel respect for you. Yeah. And like, again, like I've been like catcalled and stuff before, or like people have hollered at me on the street, but I ignore it so completely. And I behave in a way that's like, I'm not even bothered by you. And so far, no one has escalated. No one has been like, oh, this bitch isn't responding to me catcalling her. I'm going to walk up to her. Like, because I'm ignoring you for your benefit from my perspective. Like, I'm not bothered by you. And if you come up to me and you try to create a problem for me, it becomes a problem for you. And like I just don't feel like I'm an easy target for those reasons, Because I carry the pepper spray and I know I'm going to use it if it needs to happen. IDKY, but I was able to grow a mustache before tea came into my life. I was just told some women are hairy. Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if you are Hispanic or Black, it is fairly common I've especially noticed it with Hispanic women that they will end up having like a little bit more body hair than white women do. So like, yeah, it's a little bit just genetics. Like some like cultural groups just are, or some ethnic groups, I guess, just are hairier. But it could be PCOS too. Mersh says, truthfully, I'm usually armed. So for some reason, I think they realize that on some level, even though the weapons are deeply concealed. I think it's you knowing that you have them, and they're like, this person seems like they know that I'm not a problem for them for some reason. And I don't want to know why that is. It's kind of the thing about fucking bears, Like if a bear tries to front at you, what do? You stand in one place, you make yourself bigger, you make noise, and the bear's like, shit, I don't actually know about you. And then they leave. Unless it's like the wrong time of year. Obviously, sometimes if bears are just coming out of hibernation, if it's a very big bear, blah, 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 whatever, they can still take you out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something, this is also what cats do. I've seen videos of cats scaring off foxes. I've seen cats scaring off bears. Like, they don't play around, and that's how cats like survive. It's a little fucking 10-pound thing, but it's acting tough. And that much bigger animal who would definitely win is like, okay, I don't know what's wrong with you, but like, you're not acting like you're scared of me. And I think that means that I'm about to have a problem if I continue this interaction. So I'm going to leave. It is a valuable tool. Darth says, I did fake it till I make it. Okay, there you go. I'm practically neon white. Maybe you have PCOS. I don't know. Is that why tiny dogs always act so aggressive? I must assume that that's why they act like that. I do not know why they act like that, but I'm assuming I'm for the sake of being um gracious toward tiny dogs, let's assume that it is for that reason. Geese have the most powerful fuck around find out energy. They'll go after moose. Jesus. Arizona was good for teaching me how to do confidence my way and finish the fight if that wasn't enough. Cowboys are silly. Yeah. I agree fully with shoulder strong and head high. Most people just don't want to start something with someone who looks confident. Yeah. I think it's the laid back confidence that also leads gators to leave capybaras alone. Like, I get, yeah, they could drag a capybara into the water, but the capybara is like, I don't care. Yep. It's so weird moving through the world as a person. So much shit going on all the time. Oh boy. Tiny dogs are like that because they are not properly trained and their owners do not respect people's boundaries or their boundaries, the dog's boundaries. Well, I mean, yeah, like it's I don't want to give it all to behavior because medium-sized dogs don't act like that even when they are not trained. You know? Like medium-sized dogs do not lose their minds like tiny dogs do. So I feel like it has to be something adaptive from being so small. Capybara is faster in the water and more maneuverable on land. Gators can't even be bothered. True. The pelican trying to eat a capybara makes me smile every time I think about it. I know, he's like, and the capybara is like, thank you, my friend. You know, it's like, what is wrong with you? I could get scared off by a confident enough cat or goose. I could definitely get scared off by a confident enough goose, but I don't know that I could get scared off by a cat. Oh, that's interesting. Drea says if you look like you are going somewhere, it tells people that you might be expected somewhere, so stopping you could cause others to investigate what happened to you. That's interesting. I had not considered that. But I'm gay. I always be walking like I got somewhere to be, you know? Like trying to walk around my neighborhood, I have to actually like make myself slow down a little bit. Unless, it depends on like what level of exercise I'm looking to achieve. And I'm walking with someone who hasn't exercised as much as I have, so it's like, yeah, sometimes I just got to pull it back a little bit. Geese are pure evil. Don't even want to go close to one of those. I do kind of like the idea of having a pond on my land that like geese live at. You can't keep them there if they want to leave. But I like the idea of having a home for geese who are not. I am not going to take their eggs. I'm not trying to like interact with them in any way, shape, or form. I just like the idea of having geese on the premises because if they're territorial in a way that they're chill with us living near them, then they just like kick up a bunch of noise or attack things that come up. Like if they attack a bear and then that warns my farm dogs, that would be great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's that meme of Google Maps walking directions where there's a gay walking option that's 2 times as fast. Like, bitch, move, I'm gay, you know? Mm. I'm scared of geese. You should be. Geese are dinosaurs. They're large dinosaurs for this day and age. Mm-hmm. That's totally fair, John. Every time a Canadian apologizes, an angry goose is born to maintain the balance of the force. Truly. Damn. Um, did... No, I think that was from last time. Right at the beginning when I first opened chat, there was a donation, but I think that was from Dizzy from the last time. Geese are all honk. I could easily win a fight with a goose. The teeth. The teeth is the problem that I have. Like the serrated beak situation. It's worrisome to me. Yeah, I don't know how accurate this is, but Kitty says geese are some of the heaviest flighted birds. That means their wings are super strong, and an adult goose can kill a human that isn't ready for them because it is loud and disorienting. They peck and beat you to death with their wings. I don't fuck with geese, and they are rarely alone. Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't try to play with geese. They don't really do any damage with their bites. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not like, you know, like a corvid or something that has a sharper beak. Could obviously be a little bit more of a problem. Or a hooked bill would obviously be a problem. But, like, yeah, they beat their wings really strong. And it's, like, super disorienting, and they're very large when the wings come out. Although their bones are, like, small. So I do feel like if I grabbed it in its very obvious, sensitive, long neck area, then killing it would probably be easy, but, like, only if you could get a hold of it. Geese win fights by having the audacity. Yeah, it mostly just, like, scares people. And they're like, I'm gonna leave, bye! I saw a goose take on an elephant once. See, geese are like cats. They're like, I will take on superior forces and win. It definitely did not win versus the elephant, but they will try. That's funny. Elephants are so cool. Have y'all seen that video? The elephant, like, takes this lady's hat off of her head and it, like, hides it near its mouth. And then it pulls it back out and puts it back on her. Or, like, I think it puts it back on her. Like, that's funny. That elephant was like, I'm about to play with you right now. I'm about to... It would be so scary going up to an elephant that you never met before. Mm-hmm. There was one at the Renaissance Festival. I can't remember her name right now, but it was like the same elephant that my entire life, basically. I think she's still going. Or I don't know, actually. No, they still have her. They just don't do the elephant ride at Kansas City Ren Fair anymore for some reason. They only do the camel ride now. But yeah. Oh, I almost remembered her name for a second. But they'll remember you, you know? And if you've ever seen how delicately... I watched a video recently of someone... it's like there was a routine with this elephant, obviously, where they would give it a fruit and it would step on and squash the fruit to open it and then eat it. But the person put their foot in the spot on the floor instead of the fruit, and the elephant very obviously, like, realized by it initially touched the foot and was like, oh, that's not a fruit. I'm going to pull my foot away. And then the person put the fruit down and the elephant was like, bet, that's a squash and I'm going to squash it. So that just goes to show you that, like, when an elephant stomps someone to death, it's really intentional. It's very much on purpose. Yeah, I love that story. The elephant killed a woman and then showed up at her funeral to grab her body and, like, desecrate her corpse. Amazing. Kansas City Ren Fair had an elephant. Yeah, sure did. When I was a kid. Still can't remember her name. It's like my brain it keeps being like, it's almost there. And I'm like, no, I don't know what it is still. Yeah. And they do still have the camel ride. Camels are still up there. Sam says, if it's one goose, maybe I could take it, but a flock, no thanks. Kitty then follows up and says, we should be able to beat them, but they do not fight fair. Most people will trip and fall on their back. But if you basically keep your head and run away, they're not going to follow you very far. Okay. Elephants are so fun. I hate how bad they are doing worldwide right now. Even China and India are having a real problem with the population because they keep messing with the migration patterns that sometimes have 20 to 50-year cycles. That sucks. Yeah. They're like the last megafauna, right? Like elephants are like the last megafauna. Do they count as megafauna? I mean, right? Like they are not the last megafauna. Ah, elephants, moose, and whales are all considered megafauna. Cool. But it's like hard for the planet to support large animals in this day and age with like the way that humans have kind of monopolized everything. Good night, Skeptoideus. Love that elephants have jokes. Elephants be having jokes. There are still many megafauna, mostly in the ocean. True, yeah. Rhinos and hippos too? I was just looking at an article from Newsweek. I mean, Wikipedia. Megafauna means large animals. The precise definition varies. A common threshold is approximately 45 kilograms, 99 pounds, with other thresholds as low as 22 pounds or as high as 2,200 pounds. I feel like a horse can weigh like 2,000 pounds. I don't really think of a horse as being like a megafauna, but maybe my definition of this is like just really, really, really off base. Because by like the definition of 99 pounds means that like a lion is a fucking megafauna. Do mushrooms count as megafauna? Fucking true. Does Andre the Giant count as megafauna? I mean, like, humans are megafauna then, because on average, we weigh more than 99 pounds. Go to extent. Okay, so this is just like, here's a bunch of things that kind of sort of count as megafauna. Tigers, yeah, polar bears, saltwater crocodiles. I mean, I guess, like, most species are smaller than these, but, like, it's still interesting. Teenage human megafauna. True, John. True. Green anaconda. Don't want none. Saltwater croc. Nile perch. Great white shark. Reef manta ray. Like, I think of, like, giant squid and whales, but I guess megafauna is, like, a broader category than I thought it was. Yeah, I guess, yeah, considering how lightweight the vast majority of life is, considering, like, insects and small birds and shit, which make up the bulk of the biosphere. That's true, Jay. It's true. It's true. It's true. Teenage human megafauna, teenage human megafauna, teenage human megafauna. Yeah, Andre counts as the Brute Squad. He is the Brute Squad. Bison should be on the list. Also, by the way, there are multiple native initiatives right now to bring back the bison. This is a great article I found this week about it. Nature.org. Girl, we love coffee. Reject your fucking cookies. Hundreds of buffalo returned to ancestral lands in nationwide indigenous-led movement. Oh, this is very recent. Oh, nice. From Rapid City, South Dakota. More than a dozen indigenous communities welcomed over 540 buffalo, also known as American bison, back to ancestral grazing lands across the nation late last year as part of a multi-state indigenous-led initiative by the Intertribal Buffalo Council, Tonka Fund, and partner The Nature Conservancy, which is this website. The initiative's goal is to restore this keystone species, which plays a crucial role in spiritual and cultural revitalization, ecological restoration and conservation, food sovereignty, health, and economic development for indigenous peoples. These partnerships so far have facilitated the return of over 2,300 buffalo from the TNC preserves to indigenous communities. In late 2024, 543 buffalo from TNC preserves were transferred to the member nations and Tonka Fund caretakers throughout Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. We got buffalo up here. We got some buffalo up here. I know I'm in Oregon, but like if you put them in Washington, they could very well come to Oregon. Well, I guess not. There's a big fuck off river in the middle. I guess you're not really coming across there. God, Jesus Christ, the fucking Columbia River is so big. It's not even anywhere close to being one of the biggest rivers, and I was still like, oh my God, that is a really big river. I had not seen a river like that before. Wolves were reintroduced to the North Woods region. Jimsy also says, please bring bison back to Minnesota. Yeah, this is cool. I love it. I love this. They can swim that far? Really? They can swim? Like, bison can swim across... I guess where I wasn't even the thickest part. I mean, I guess if you're coming up I-84, which is what we did, and we just kind of took I-84 all the way across the top of Oregon there. We joined... The highway joins with the river near a fairly wide point, and I actually looked over and was like, oh, there's a lake. And then the lake just kept going, and I was like, oh, that's not a lake, that's the Columbia River. So yeah, it's quite large in some places. And then there's a dam, and you're looking, dude, like, that river would be so much wider in some places if it weren't for the fact that there's a dam on the Columbia River. For real. Like, there's entire towns that would be underwater. There's entire vineyards that would be underwater. The highway would be underwater if not for that dam. It's crazy. The Columbia River doesn't go to the far end of the Washington-Oregon border. It curves up to Canada, so they could, in theory, migrate down to Oregon. I was going to say it sort of depends on what side of the river they're on, because technically, like, if they had placed them on the northwest side of the river, then they could be stuck there, except that they can swim across, apparently. That's why they're called water buffalo. No, baby, water buffalo is a different thing. I just want to be clear with you that a water buffalo is a different thing. It is not the same as an American bison. These are Asiatic, originating in the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. This is a different thing. Water buffalo is a different thing. Oh my God, Gay Fesh. Yeah, I did. I heard about it. Give me a second. That's a jump in subject. I gotta recalibrate. Oh my God, girl. This is so silly. Yeah, bring the mountain lions back to Ohio. True. So Fesh says, did you hear about the Lemkin Institute rage quitting Blue Sky because they wrote a red alert genocide warning about the trans community, but the article was very clearly not written by or even consulting with trans people. They literally argued that transphobia came from misandry, and instead of just accepting the correction, they decided to delete their account and then bitch on Twitter about how Blue Sky is full of left-on-left violence and insane trans people. Yes, I did see that. Yeah, so I didn't actually read the article in question because I don't even know if they linked it on Twitter. I didn't look at their Twitter account either. The Lemkin Institute was established by a dude who coined the definition of the term genocide, right? We have evoked the Lemkin Institute in the past when discussing the concept of trans genocide. We evoke them because they have said that the gender critical beliefs which we are seeing, it's called, they call it gender critical in the UK. Functionally, a lot of what's going on in the US is in line with those ideologies. So the gender critical stuff and the American backlash against trans people and stuff, the Lemkin Institute called it out and said, oh, they took the article down. Cool. But like for them to be like, okay, yeah, like I know that sometimes people on the internet are spicy. People are like, okay, dude, you're the Lemkin Institute and you're supposed to like be on the side of trans people, and yet you're sitting here calling trans women men by implying that hatred toward them is rooted in a hatred of men. It's not. It's rooted in a hatred of trans women. That's why fucking Posey Parker is more than happy to work with men. It's not about hating men. It's about hating gender ideology, whatever the fuck that means. It's about hating trans women and trans people broadly. So yeah, it was stupid of them to say that shit. It is counter to the facts. So it is misinformation, and it is misinformation that in the saying of it misgenders trans women. So yes, I understand why it was a problem, and yes, I understand that people are spicy sometimes, but like the community was also like in consensus, and I'm sure that there were plenty of people who were just saying like, hey, just so you know, this is really awkward and problematic. The community was like in alignment about this being a bad move. And yeah, they go complaining on fucking Twitter about it. Hold on, let me see if I can find the screenshots, because I'm just kind of talking about this out my ass. Okay, so here, it's like, this is the original tweet, has been deleted. This is the link to the article. Okay, here's a screenshot from the article. Additionally, in their specific obsession with transgender women, these initiatives also exhibit a clear misandry or hatred of men, according to which any person assigned the male sex at birth poses a permanent existential threat to women. Jenny Tightpants, one of the biggest accounts on this fucking website, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, 82,000, maybe not one of the biggest, but a rather large account, trans woman, says, respectfully, I think you might want to make another draft because this is not what's going on here. That's the level. Yeah, the Trump admin hates men. The idea that the Trump admin hates men. Like, girl, So this is this is one example of the response that they were getting. Like, respectfully, I think you might want to rethink that. And they go screaming on Twitter, calling it left on left violence. Girl, how fucking stupid are you? I am so tired of Twitter arguments and discourse on Blue Sky being considered a form of violence when we're about to be we are in a situation where families are being violently torn from their homes or communities. They're being violently separated. They're being violently shot to death in the street if they're black. Like, they're being violently incarcerated for shit they didn't fucking do. And you're gonna call fucking being called out on Blue Sky violent? Like, I feel like the Lemkin Institute, whatever staffer you have, this is very clearly, I think, just the person who's in charge of the social media having, like, a bad time with backlash. Like, that one person. And, like, this does not seem like a response that the Lemkin Institute is having as a team. This does not seem like something that they're like, oh, yeah, as an organization, we believe that our presence on Blue Sky is a net negative or something. Like, that's not it. This is just one person who works for them and is making unilateral decisions about how to present their organization publicly. Bad call after bad call after bad call. GenPrev, I don't know what GenPrev, genocide prevention is what that stands for. Genocide prevention cannot function in a space of constant raging and enemy making. Just all those problems of the so-called left in the USA. Okay, so Lemkin Institute right-wing when? Leaving the left when? I wouldn't be surprised if that person gets fired. Neither would I. I hope they do. Or fucking gets a different job that is not public-facing. So yeah, someone tries to explain, like, it's not left-on-left violence for us to point out that you called us men by naming our oppression as being motivated by misandry. I was there, and I gave you an out by even rewriting that bit for you, which you thanked me for. Subsequently, dipping from Blue Sky reads like a hissy fit. You simply failed to meet the moment and actually listen. You refused to hear out trans women on that point, and then you blame us for you leaving Blue Sky? This person says, your stance was literally trans people deserve to be eliminated, but we're worried about what will happen to others as a result. It wasn't left on left. It was you throwing trans people under the bus. Like, I don't know where that statement is coming from because I haven't read the article or seen screenshots of that. Like, I don't know if that is a reasonable response to say, like, you know, trans people deserve to be at the center of this. I don't know if that's a reasonable response. Like, sometimes people are going to mischaracterize what you say, and, you know, it's not the end of the world. Happens to us all. Words matter. Your statement was that the threat to trans women is due to gender critical women hating men, whereas the threat is actually from fascist men passing laws outlawing trans women. Let's be clear. J.K. Rowling is not behind anti-trans laws in the USA. Musk, Trump, and Republicans are. Lemkin says no disagreement there. And then someone says, okay, all you needed to do was change one sentence in the statement to clarify that. Deleting it entirely, fleeing from Blue Sky, and blaming trans people for the whole thing only serves to make it worse. And I think you know that. And then says people would not have been happy with that. Get real. What do you mean? Like, you're saying that, like, the solution that all these people who are mad at you are asking for, like, hey, can you just fucking correct yourself on this? And they're like, well, that wouldn't satisfy you anyway. Like, that's explicitly what we're asking for. And yeah, maybe that won't satisfy everybody, but the point of being the Lemkin Institute is not to, like, have unilateral positive response on social media. Girl. Like, whatever. If you saw how we were dogpiled and accused of ever worse infractions, people were out for a good meal and they got it. This is so fucking stupid. Why not just address us like human beings? Maybe because being misgendered is dehumanizing and implying that trans women are men and that's why gender criticals hate them is fucking dehumanizing. Again, people do not realize, like, okay, girl, you started it. Like, you're the one who said something dehumanizing. If I say something dehumanizing to you, or if I speak to you in a way that doesn't acknowledge your humanity, it's because you started it. People are so butthurt. Oh, man. The way that this person is speaking to, like, girl, you should not be in charge of anybody's social media. That's crazy. Yes, trans people are facing a genocide, but have they considered a worse fate, being dogpiled on social media? Right? Mersh says, I've seen several articles and YouTube videos that compare the anti-trans and general anti-queer paranoia in the US with the satanic panic in the 80s and 90s. Because satanic panic also included accusing people of abusing children. The political right is using minority groups with very small numbers and a supposed victim group, children, that they need to, quote, protect. Scapegoats. Exactly, just like with the Nazis and the Jews in World War II. Precisely. It's satanic panic too, now with extra Anita Bryant shtick. Oh yeah, I forgot about Anita Bryant. Crabs. 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 I love streaming on my feet. I am so much more likely to do something silly. I'm a huge fan. I enjoy it. I recently read that popping your neck, like if you were to twist your neck a little bit and get that pop, it increases your risk of stroke. So now I can't do it anymore. And it sucks because sometimes I'm like, man, it would feel so good to just pop my neck right now. Sometimes when you're doing a nice stretch like this, you'll end up getting a nice pop. But it's not the same. I need a new bed. It's not going to happen for a while, but man, it's the kind of thing that I'm like, I'm about to go in debt for a bed. I'm about to go in debt to sleep better. Oh my God, dude. We finally, what we typically do in our bedroom is we usually just pin a blanket over the window. Like the bedroom, it mostly just gets completely cut off from the light, you know? And I finally did, after a few weeks of living here, I finally put a blanket over the window. And now the last 2 days I slept in an extra hour and a half. I'm like, I think I'm going to take that off the window for this week. I didn't know the neck pop could cause stroke. I don't know what the causal mechanism is, but I know that it is like associated with higher risk of stroke. So yeah, I don't do it anymore. Or I do it less often, I guess is probably more accurate to say. Should we be talking about what you do in the bedroom on stream? I mean, you know, I it's like what is the tone that I want to set? Like obviously the trans community and particularly the trans women community can be pretty sexual. I think trans men struggle with their sexuality a little bit more. I think for trans women, you have the option to be a bottom, and like trans men have to try so much harder to be able to top. And I think maybe that might contribute to why trans men seem less outwardly sexual, not sexualized, but less outwardly sexual as a community. But yeah, it's like, do we want to host horny chat sometimes? Like, did we just get to 69 likes? It still shows me 68. Did we get to 69? But yeah, like, do we talk about sex? I'm monogamously married, so if I were to talk about my sex life, it would be like, let me tell you about the sex life I have with my one person that I have sex with over and over again. Like, I don't know. I feel like if we try something really fun, like really out of the ordinary, I might be like, yo, I just tried, like, I don't know, a brand new toy I've never tried before or something. I don't know. It's like, I guess I'm just not that sexually adventurous at this time in my life. I'm more likely to talk about community garden and that kind of shit. And yeah, I have sex with my partner on a pretty regular basis, but it tends to not be that exciting, or like it's not like there's a bunch of new stuff happening. It's mostly just like we've been in a relationship for 15 years, you know? Like I broke the like counter and made it to 70. Nice. Congrats. I've been streaming for almost 3 hours and I've gotten 0 donations, and this is my job. Taxes and everything. So I feel like I should at least get like a $5 dono before I quit for today. In before I end up with an 8-hour stream with no donations. Given that trans people have to understand their biology better than cis people, it seems logical that they would also be more open about sexuality. I read that trans people are way more queer than non-trans. Well, I was drawing a distinction, and maybe I wasn't clear, between trans women and trans men. For a second there, I'm like, trans women are very overtly outwardly sexual in a way that trans men are not, and I am closer to a trans man hypothetically, in terms of like where I started, where I went, where did you go, come from, Cotton Eye Joe. Um, Even though in so many ways I empathize with trans women more. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just saying that, like, as a host of a channel, yes, trans women tend to be more overtly sexual. Don't know. Like, well, damn. I know that everything, oh, man, it looks so bad. It's like blank greenish background. Like it's easy to not notice how green it is until my hand comes up here, and then I'm like, my shadow is straight up green. That's crazy. Someone said something about an orange light. Do I have? Thank you, Ember. If you're poor AF, you don't need to be donating to me, but whatever, thank you. I appreciate your $5 donation. That's very kind of you. At least, yeah, it's like I didn't come up here for 3 hours and make 0 money. Thank you. $5. If we get 95 more dollars, I will go disturb my cat. He is sleeping on my bed. I will disturb him. I will bring him here, and I will force him to be on camera. It's true. Okay, where? I think my remote control for my... I set up one of my lights.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like one... Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. I just stared directly into that. Thank you, Mersh. $20 donation on Super Chat. Thank you. Here you go, Moss. I will donate to the cause. I appreciate you. I hope that everything goes well with your upcoming tax situation. I know that the fucking financials have been weird for you for a while, so no worries. Thank you. $25 for today. I still can't see. Just Just like accidentally stared directly at an LED when I turned it on. It was not smart. And now I need to tune in the colors. My sub renewed a couple days ago, but I wasn't going to ask for it to be added. Yeah, it is a little weird with the renewing subs. Like, because so often they don't happen on a day that I stream. And I don't typically... Like, of course I get donations throughout the week sometimes, even ones that are not subscription donations. But it's like, when do you add it? Typically, I only add the ones that happen during the show or, like, right before the show. I'm so scared of this rise in fascism. Well, I mean, me too, I guess. Like, the fuck are we gonna do about it? But, yeah. Okay, there's, like, an orangey kind of color going on right now. I could go with, like, a yellowish color. It still looks pretty orangey. Oh, wait, this is my monitor that always makes everything look super red that I haven't fixed yet. Dang Catlord, thank you for the $5 dono. Says, have dollars. Also, here's a funny YTP. Oh, no. Hold on, I'm fucking with the colors a little bit. Because someone had mentioned, like, yeah, orange could kind of offset some of the green vibes. So that's... This is, like, actually a yellowish light that is just looking very orange. This is the Yahtzee era? Are you saying, like, Yeezy? Are you talking about Yeez? This was, like, a darker orange, and it's got more of, like, a red kind of tone. Like, I guess just yellow. Or maybe that one. I don't know. You can't put too much red in it because the red and the green are gonna, like, counteract each other. What if we did blue? Oh my goodness, that's so blue. I mean, I don't hate it. That's a slightly lighter blue. We got a dark blue. We got a lighter blue. We got a... This is the lightest blue. This one might have some of the mossiest vibes, like cave moss. Something... I don't know. And then here's the white one. White color. I mean, honestly... That's better than the fucking green. It's got like a little bit of a purpley thing going on. We also do have the option for like just straight up green. Straight up green. That's like a blue-green color kind of. Blue-green. I do have purple options that I never changed to. What do the purples even look like? There's purple. Oh my gosh, it's more of a pink. Purple. Let's go back to white. Yeah, we'll just leave it white for now. Yeah, and I don't have the second one set up. I'll have to figure out where that's going. I love lilac. Okay. I love lamp. Is that what... Is this... Does this look like it's lilac? Technically, this is white. But it does have like a purplish kind of thing going on. Anyway, that's certainly better than what was going on before. Anyway, what... You wanted me to click this. 1 minute. What is this? Am I gonna get in trouble for this? Red and green, and we are jumping forward to Christmas. I'd be okay with a time skip. Looks lavender to me. This, yeah, there's like definitely a pinkishness to it. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. It's like, it's cool though, because it does change the vibes. But I don't know if it'll continue to work when I start getting like, hold on. Here, I'm gonna grab the big one. There are going to be shadows involved when this goes up. And I don't know how to feel about that. You know? We'll figure it out. Don't worry, guys. We'll figure it out. Even if I have to do stuff I'm not supposed to do, like put holes in the walls to hang stuff. But thank you for the additional donation. That brings us up to $30 for today. Thank you very much for contributions. That's awesome. Okay, come back, chat. I need you. All of this stuff is safe? Okay, good. You said it's safe. I'll trust you.
My name is Michael Fulf. The double bass is the lull, and the lull you need a shape, you need a bow, you need... The bass is fuller, unlike the violin, viola, and cello, which are all French plucking the strings like this. Here, Kato reminds us that the bass is also used. Also, I do not miss. What is the bass?
My name is. The bassoon is so called because it's two pieces of bow tied. You can play very low. I make my reeds myself out of bouquet that you buy from your diaphragm, and you can make sand, which is sometimes not appreciated. Where if you hit your tongue against it quite hard, you get an attack, or you can do a soft. I always thought that it must be helpful to have a little sand, and there's one place in Germany that has about 6.
Hello, my name is Jones.
Cool.
It makes a sound. Tighten my bosom. No, this is called a... No notes.
Cool. Nice. No, don't play My Kink is Karma. Shut up. Yes, I would listen to the shit out of that song right now, but not right now. I actually learned how to play upright bass. This is a factual documentary. That's awesome. I want a cello so badly. So badly I want a cello. I don't have the space for that. I probably wouldn't sit down with it often enough to justify it, but I want one so bad. I sometimes miss my trombone days. Yeah, I never did that. I never did the brass thing. I was a string player, played violin and then viola briefly, and I mean, I've played like a million billion fucking instruments, but like not a brass one before. That would be nice together with some more stuff on the wall. Yeah, I need to figure it out. Like I said, I'm kind of thinking about doing some kind of draping curtains thing over here maybe, or I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Like I said, I have this portfolio here. And I need to find some way to replace it, because it's like providing a lot of soundproofing on the wall right there. So I was like, what if I hang curtains like up and then drape down? But then it's just a matter of like, does the set look good? Would it be better if the curtains were way over there? I don't know. But then I'm still dealing with this problem with this whole wall. Anyway. I tried to learn keyboard, but I can never get the hang of it. It's really difficult to separate your fingers to play piano. Haha, I used to have a cello. They're so based. That's funny. Used to play the trombone. Kind of gross with the saliva. True. Yep, that sounds bad. I'm a sucker for violin, but my fingers are too dang big to hit just one string. Conveniently, you often don't need... Well, like, if you press down one of the other strings on a violin that you're playing violin style, you're typically just... you're typically just playing one note at a time. So if your finger smushes onto one of the other strings, it shouldn't really matter that much. However, when you're playing fiddle, you do often play more than one string at once, and it might actually be advantageous to have a big, fat finger to cover two strings at once, because then you can play the two notes at the same time. So, I don't know. Hi, mister. Hi, Mr. Baby. If we get like $70 more in donations, I'm going to pick you up, and you're going to hate it. Did I actually add that? Yes. If we get $70 more in donations, I'm going to pick him up, and he's going to hate it. I don't know if we're gonna make it though, because we're at the 3-hour mark and I'm fucking tired. Yeah, I should just knock this out in my rental, like knock out the wall. I like this color scheme with the Luxander stream overlay. Cool. Yeah. I hadn't thought about, like, am I gonna change any of this stuff? Maybe I could ask Evie to, like, put some mossy buildup on it or something. I don't know. It doesn't really fit what I'm doing anymore, but the stream content is different than the video essay content anyway. What if you did a green screen? That would suck. I hate green screen. I think it looks so tacky. I don't know that my cat loves being picked up, but he is very permissible about it. We've been working on Mitternacht for a while, and he is more pliant about it than he used to be. But he still doesn't like it. Violinists get some insane calluses. Also, in my experience, violinists often play multiple strings for solo or lead melodies. Sure, yeah. Like, I mean, because solo and lead stuff, it kind of has some of the similar qualities that fiddle is. Now, a fiddle and a violin are the same instrument, but it has to do with how you play them. If you want Moss inspiration, I do recommend visiting the Olympics when you get a chance. What do you mean visiting the Olympics when I get a chance? Oh, do you mean like the Olympic National Park? Girl, we have plenty of moss here. I've talked about it already. I'm like, I love the moss here. It's on almost every tree, and it's like so much of it, and it's everywhere. I'm actually I had a terrarium that I ended up emptying out because it just wasn't doing well, and I want to build a new terrarium in it. It's like a tiny terrarium. And, yeah, it's not going to take very much time at all to go out and pick some moss to go in it. The only thing that's going to be even remotely challenging about it is that I'm going to need to buy some, I'm going to need to buy some mushrooms so that I can catch some springtails. There is a section in the Olympics that is actually classified as a jungle. That's awesome. Peninsula. Peninsula. It's a rainforest, actually. It snowed this week, and I was like, this is nice, and it reminds me of home and everything, and it's great. But then I was like, after 2 days of that, I was like, I am ready to have my temperate rainforest back. Can we get back to, like, rainy? I thought I knew Moss as well, a lifelong resident of the PNW, but hot damn, a rainforest blows the rest of the PNW away. But also in protected places, you're, like, not supposed to take things, you know? If I live in a neighborhood where fucking moss is just growing on every part of the sidewalk, basically, then I can just go to the sidewalk and take some moss. But preserves and parks and stuff have rules. They say, like, you're not allowed to take anything. We used to go years between snows, and now we get about a week a year. Yeah. There's a forest near me with huge pine trees, which is classified as a desert due to rainfall reasons. Biomes are weird. That is weird. Oh, just to take pictures. I got you, Luke. Exactly, Miles. Yeah, I loved the snow, but 2 days was enough for me. I got to slide my truck around a snowy parking lot, and now I'm happy. I didn't go anywhere. I was like, I don't have it. We did all of our running around earlier in the week. Like, it was like Tuesday that I went to a bunch of different buildings, like a bunch of different businesses that I wanted to frequent or like check out. And then Wednesday, my partner drove around, and then I was like, okay, from Thursday through like Monday, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I wonder if I could ship moss to a P.O. box. Probably. I don't have a P.O. box set up right now. I was thinking about setting one up, but like, I don't know that I receive enough things in a P.O. box to justify paying for one. You know? I think I would need to have like 100,000 subscribers before I did the P.O. box thing, and even then I probably would keep it relatively private. The South Pole is a desert because it's too cold to snow. Oh my god. The cat is being a cat right now. And I can't even show him to you. You always have to change up the stream goal thing. It has to be something different every time. There we go. But yeah, now that the snow has basically melted, I was actually thinking about going out sometime this week to grab some more moss. I just don't want to put moss in a terrarium and then have mold start, and I don't have any springtails in there already. So I guess the springtails have to happen first, which means that I need to put mushrooms on my list for this week, even if one of my meals planned does not use mushrooms. P.O. boxes are good even if you don't need a public mailing address. I plan on getting one so people can't steal my mail. Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I know that like typically in residential neighborhoods, you'll have like the mailbox is on the curb or the mailbox is next to the house or something. But I've noticed an increasing prevalence in residential neighborhoods even. So like obviously if you live in an apartment, you typically have like a key and then people can't get into your shit unless they like pick the lock or whatever. And then there's a similar thing happening more and more now with residential neighborhoods. And honestly, I get it. It's objectively, it saves the post office workers a lot of time because instead of like having to drive down the street and stop at every single mailbox and then come back up, or having to park, this is what often happens is you park the mail vehicle and then you get out and then you walk down the street and then up the side of the street and then you're back in your truck again. But it's way faster to just park in one place and give all the mail to one place. So now you'll see those like kind of like you would see in an apartment complex for the mail, but it's just on any old residential street. And I've been seeing that more and more often. And it does make sense. It's like it saves a ton of time. And then the only thing you need to take to people's doors are packages, like large packages, because a lot of those boxes also have like a package door, like a separate little area for stuff that doesn't fit in the tiny little mail slot box. But yeah, P.O. boxes are amazing if you have porch pirates. That's true. Yeah, having basically all of your packages be held at the post office for you. I'm not a huge fan of using lethal force to protect private property. Even in situations where it's legal, like I'm pretty sure it's legal in the state of Oregon to use lethal force to protect property, but like I generally prefer not to do that. I've seen grouped mailboxes all my life. My mom shares hers with 3 other boxes. Well, that's not what I mean. Because I've seen those, of course, where it's like 4 mailboxes. There's like a post here and a post here, right? And then there's like 4 mailboxes on it. That's not what I'm referring to. Oh, no, not what I wanted. I'm referring to these, which have like several things. Like, they like this one goes up to 16. So this one, you can have 16 different addresses receiving mail. There's a slot for outgoing mail, and then there's 2 package things so that the mail person doesn't have to take every little package you get and take it up to your house. Because how these work is the mailman just goes around to the back of them. Oh man, I don't know if there's even a picture of the back of one. Oh, that kind of is a picture of the back of one. Not really. Or ones like this. You see ones like this too. So how this works though is like the front, each one has an individual key, and those are for the individual units. But then on the back, it's just like the mailman has one key and he turns it and this whole door opens, and then you can just chuck things into the different slots and then you close the whole thing up again. Now, I have seen plenty of these before too, where it's just like a bunch of mailboxes together, but I was referring to these that you see in neighborhoods now. More like this is one in a neighborhood. You know, cluster mailbox, I guess is what they're called. Are you yelling at me, sir? Oh, did I put a bunch of shit in your spot? Sorry, bud. There you go. Now I took the things out of your spot. Are you happy now? Yeah? Okay, good. The tan ones are used in my trailer park. I like them. Yeah, they're nice. And like I said, as a person who did carry mail, it's extremely time saving and convenient in a situation where like there's more and more and more mail all the time. My neighborhood has a community mailroom with 280 locking mailboxes. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that at like very large apartment complexes where like you have a very large apartment community and then maybe there's like a sort of island in the middle, and in the middle there's like a huge, like a basically what would basically be like an entire living room's worth of space that's just walls of boxes, mailboxes, and it's, yeah, saves a ton of time. I just want to have a reason to shove a bunch of moss into an envelope. Well, you can do a spell. Do a spell. Shove some moss in an envelope in a spell. I don't fucking know what you're doing with your life. And this is basically just for packages. I think this one is entirely for packages. Cool though. They're very convenient. But if you have one of these that you get your mail out of, something I'm going to tell you right now is that the actual locking mechanism, right? It's a pretty straightforward, like if you open the door and you have your key in there and you twist it, you can see what is physically happening is a thing is sliding up and down. And like, if it's down like this, then you can't open the door. And if it's up like this, then you can open the door, right? That's it. And this thing, like the part that moves, this part right here, there's a nut right there, and it comes loose really easily. And I've noticed it in 2 different apartments that I've lived in that have these cluster mailboxes. When you first move into a place, part of your due diligence and periodically throughout you living there should be like you can twist it tight with your fingers good enough to then open and close on its own. But you probably need to grab the appropriate size wrench to tighten that thing down. Because for a while there in a place where I was living, I would close it and turn it like it was locked, and then it just fucking wasn't locked because that mechanism was just hanging loose and it was just dangling, just like loosely dangling like that. So it's true. Yeah, I constantly have to tighten the nut on my thing sliding up and down. Sad face. True. Mail moss to Washington, D.C. See how the FBI reacts. Some plants and animals you're not supposed to take across state lines. I don't know. I wonder if a lock washer would help. So here's the thing. They have lock washers on them. They just weren't tightened correctly in the first place, I've noticed. Like it has like it's a washer, but it's kind of like beep, 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 beep. You know, it's got these like shapes. And so it has that, but it's just a matter of like, it needs to be tightened down properly in the first place. And I don't know that they are. Or maybe it's just because I move into an apartment that was built in like the 70s and it's been a long time or whatever, like, I don't know. But it's happened to me twice where I've thought that I was locking my mail, but I wasn't. So mine does not have a lock washer. Yeah, so that it would help. It would. Yes. But you just need to actually tighten it. Like, you gotta actually think about it sometime. Like, take your pliers or your wrench or whatever and just tighten it more than finger tight, and that should be helpful. Yeah, but you can use some blue Loctite as well. But just my little PSA for you, that if you have mail at one of these, make sure that the locking mechanism is actually appropriately functioning. People say I'm jealous, but my kink is karma. That tab is still open because YouTube tried to autoplay me to Chapel Roan earlier. Miles wants to stress that you want to use blue Loctite and not red. I don't know the difference, but I will take your word for it. Buffalo, megafauna. What is this? Money removed from NYC account. Okay, cool. I've pared down my tabs a little bit. I can't fucking believe that Mark Rober is Mormon. That's so weird. What a weird dude. I did learn a little bit about Mormonism recently because I was watching some Hunger Games videos, and one of the Hunger Games videos that I watched was some lady basically being like, I think I can definitively say that the location of the capital in the Hunger Games Panem is Salt Lake City, Utah. And I was like, bet, that's awesome. That sounds fun. But basically just like, and I think that she's correct based on everything from the text and the description of the buildings and stuff. Like, it does seem like this is very similar to the buildings as they actually exist in places in Utah, which is, again, how I learned about some of this Latter-day Saint shit and like the actual infrastructure and the fact that there's like secret tunnels everywhere in Mormon land. So I learned a little bit more about Mormonism. I want to bother you even though that we haven't hit the stream goal. Mitternacht, I hope you know that Herculean restraint is his spot. He likes to hang out in the beanbag chair. Blue is for stuff that you want to be able to take apart again eventually. Red is for stuff that's never going to come apart again without a torch. I mean, when it comes to my federally protected mail, maybe what I want is something that's never going to open up again, and you're going to have to weld it to get it open. Secret tunnel, through the mountain. Good stuff. Water's good for you. Hail hydrate. I feel like there was more this week that happened that I was like, oh, I should chat about that on stream. But I don't write shit down. So I'm just like 3 hours in now and I'm like, what else has happened this week? What else could we do? What else could we talk about? I'm looking forward to springtime. Ooh, this week I'm going to try to make friends in the local fiber art community. That's my goal this week. So I'm going to start getting to know people, hopefully in the local community, and then I'll do stuff in the local community and I'll have more to talk about. I can't give you advice, dank cat lord. The best thing that happened this week is that we all survived. We did it! We survived! I don't know, that was a pretty good week. Like, yesterday, my partner originally proposed a plan that was like after maybe every week or every couple of weeks, we should, as a family, like clean together. So that when we eventually move out of here, we don't have to do a huge deep clean right before we move out, right? So yesterday we cleaned, and then the goal was to clean a little bit and then sit down and watch a movie and like play with Lego or work on a puzzle or something. And we ended up basically sitting on the floor for like 9+ hours. It was a very long day of like, and we ended up just sitting on the floor spending time together, and that was pretty good. Felt like it was a pretty good use of my time. No, the cat's not. No, god damn it, John. I was like, hey, my cat, is that your spot? He's in his spot on the beanbag chair. His name is Mitternacht. I don't know where in there it got confused that I was calling him Spot, but I was saying, hey, is that your spot? His name is Mitternacht. Start making mushrooming connections now. They will be popping like crazy very soon. I actually did start looking up on Facebook and stuff, but I don't know. I'm like, I don't know in person. How do you make mushroom friends in person? I do not know how to do that. Tell us how the heck to go about making friends. Do your hobbies. That's my advice. What's up, Sophie? Just do your hobbies. I don't actually know how it works because I am terrible at making friends. But what I'm just gonna do my hobbies and explicitly ask for social events. And I'm gonna go to the farmer's market and fucking hopefully get to actually know the people at the farmer's market. Like, yeah, that's my plan. I don't know how to make friends. That's just what I'm gonna do. Mushrooms. Lego my egos. Listen, I have been very good at not talking about food this time because I didn't eat before show today. So I know the hunger is going to hit me pretty soon and I'm going to be like, okay, bye. My problem is all my hobbies anymore are mostly solo. Crochet is not a group activity. Okay, that's my hobby that I'm like, this is how I'm going to get friends. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to go to a yarn store, a craft store this week, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm new to the area. I just, not only did I want to see what your business is like, but I also wanted to know if you all ever host any days of like, you can come finish projects, or maybe you can come weave in your ends, and everybody just sits and chats and weaves in their ends. It's a very solo thing, but it's a matter of like, can any of my hobbies be done near other people? That's all I need. Just to be near other people, to say, hey, how are you doing? Like, to get to know people. And like, when I go shoot at the gun range, that's kind of a solo hobby, except that I'm going to be able to be like, hey, Jim, how you doing? How your kids? That kind of shit. Even if I still go shoot by myself. I have considered taking up quilting. It's a social activity and you can donate the blankets to homeless shelters. Yeah, my mother-in-law is super into quilting. And yeah, like then you have an entire thing on social media where you can meet people who do the same thing that you do, and then you can go to the fabric store and meet people at the fabric store. Maybe they have a class where you learn how to do something with the sewing machine specifically. Like that is how you do it. And like maybe if you don't have that much money for like, you're not trying to buy a bunch of yarn or whatever, if you join like the neighborhood Facebook group and you're like, hey, it's my plan to start going on a walk, or like, is there anybody who wants to go on a walk with me in near this park once a week or something? Just go fucking do things. Miles says, if you're introverted, go outside and do things, and eventually an extrovert will adopt you. Source, I'm the extrovert. Springtime in the PNW means I become a Claritin consumer, lest I become 100% mucus. When are the worst allergy seasons? When is that happening? Because I feel like it's warm enough that it should be doing that already. You, Facebook. I'm sorry. Like, what are you gonna am I gonna tell you to go to meetup.com? Are you like, no, unfortunately Facebook is still useful for local whatever, what else do people use to meet people locally? Like most businesses have a Facebook, and like sometimes the Facebook page is the page that pops up when you try to go to the website from the Google search, like unfortunately it is still a way to socialize. And like I've been on Facebook for a long time, partially because there's also a bunch of surgery groups for trans people where the information is reasonably private, where TERFs can't infiltrate the groups and steal your photos like they can on Reddit. There's nothing secure on Reddit. So like, yeah, Facebook has still been useful to me. Lots of like mushroom groups, lots of craft groups. I found some like trans groups in the Willamette area, or like in Oregon in general. Although I think most of my trans-related organizing is probably going to have to happen offline. I've seen trans people here, and they, I'm like, hey, I see you, you're trans. Not wearing a mask, that's how I could tell. I could see your face. Allison, is that a headline you're quoting? Severe storms cause devastation in the eastern United States. Concerns over U.S. science funding cuts. Challenges facing scientific integrity. Yeah, that seems like why I didn't want to move to the East Coast. It kind of seems like that's why. I looked for Mark Rober subscription box, and what I got was like KiwiCo. Okay, Crunch Labs is the one from Mark Rober. But there's also ones for, like, I think that, doesn't Vsauce have a subscription box? But maybe that one's more like random shit. That's the Curiosity box. So it's just more like toys and not like building a thing. Anyway. Oh, these are topic suggestions. Okay. The only groups I'm a part of all use Signal, and the people in the groups are only people that we've met in person. For trans activism, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, like that we would, you know, focus on things offline and also use an encrypted messaging service. That makes perfect sense. Okay, Curiosity box is a different thing. Yeah, what severe storms were recent, though? Because I guess I haven't heard about, like, recent storms. Or I guess maybe Mersh was talking about it earlier when they mentioned that they had just had a big storm there in Virginia. Concerns over U.S. science funding cuts. Like, yeah, I don't know what I could possibly add to that. Like, yeah, I have concerns. Yeah, man. I have to be very careful talking about federal politics because the Fed posting wants to come out of me. And I'm just like, I'm like thinking about what I want to say, and I'm like, don't. Don't even try to workshop that to make it more acceptable to say. Don't say it. Dank Catlord reinforces that Signal is the only chat that is encrypted and proven track record with good cryptography. Yep. Challenges facing scientific integrity. I mean, we've been there for years. I don't even know, like, what else I can add to that at this point. How to build a Luigi board. Yeah, that's classic. I too am in the Willamette Valley, and I'm also trans. There's a ton of us here. Good place to be trans, TBH. That's what I was hoping. And I know, again, like, I don't even know what I would do at this point to be like, I want to be visibly trans in public. Like, what would I even do at this point? I don't dress like a trans person. How is Prangant formed? Pergananant? But yeah, I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna be visibly trans in public anymore, and not. It's just like, yeah, like, again, I'm never gonna bind again. I wear clothes that are form-fitting and comfortable, and I'm femme, so the form-fitting and comfortable clothes tend to be women's clothes, so it's like, whatever. Like I said, I've seen other trans people in public, and I'm like, I don't know how to... Do I say, hi, I'm also trans? I noticed you are trans. I have a trans Antifa patch on my backpack. I thought about maybe getting some new plugs, because, like, I've been wearing these tunnels for a while, partially because they're just more comfortable. They're silicone, so you know, when I sleep and I'm like resting my head on my partner's shoulder, it doesn't hurt either of us. So that's, you know, that's what I typically wear. But like, I could get trans color plugs or something. I don't know. Can u get pregante? Am I pergananant? Pergananant. How do you do, my fellow transes? Yeah, let me get the skateboard. How do you do, my fellow transes? I'm definitely not a CIA plant. I find I'm getting more just a woman in public, but even more aggressively trans online. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's a benefit that I can meet people and have them not know that I'm trans, and then after I become friends with them, be like, hey, by the way, I'm trans. There's a benefit to doing that, I guess. But my phone is covered in queer shite. Yeah, but my phone is in my pocket. Like, it's not out. So yeah, so this week, What do we got coming up this week? What do we got plans this week? Uh, uh, I'm keeping up on my self care. Like Monday's President's Day, so I can't. There's some businesses that are going to be closed. If you're in Eugene, there's transponder events. Transponder. Okay. Okay. I can check that out. That's good. Yeah, so this week, shit, I'm like, I would like to finally get to the library. I don't know when I'm gonna do that though. I don't know if that's gonna be this week. Like this week, I'm gonna go to the yarn store. We're gonna visit a couple other small businesses. Some other like more official stuff I need to do. Like I guess like trying to get back into writing and editing that video is part of what I'm planning to do this week. I've been exercising. I just started exercising again, so I'm going to try to add to that this week by trying to add in a bunch of resistance band exercises. Exactly, Thumb Warrior. I feel a little bit that way. Is like, I don't know if I want to let on that... Or sorry. Thumb Warrior says, I don't even want to let on that I noticed anyone being trans in public, even though the psychic backlash of getting clocked hit us simultaneously. Yeah, it's like, but I don't know if it's bad for a trans person to do it. If I'm like, hey, I'm trans and I noticed that you're trans. It's like, it's different for me to notice than for a cis person to notice. If a cis person notices that you're trans, then that feels bad. But it's like, if another trans person notices, it's kind of like, whatever. Good going, Sam. Excited for you to start your blanket. I never get any hello fellow trans. The most I got was a cis lesbian trying to formulate mental gymnastics about gender, but thankfully my bus came. True. Sophie asks, I was wondering how other trans people handle the long time period it takes to see changes in trans care. You know, it takes time, and if I've waited years, it seems so much longer waiting for change. Do you mean like you've already started your hormones and you feel like it's just taking a long time to see the physical changes happen? Because if that's the case, first of all, yes, it does take a little bit of time, but also cisgender people are fucking sadists, and they will put you on a dose that is far too low, and that will impede your changes, sometimes for years, because they are medically illiterate on this subject. So, you know, if it's been like 8 months and you're like, wow, I really have not noticed any changes, or the changes are happening really slowly, double check your blood work, see where your blood level of estrogen is. Sophie, I'm assuming you take estrogen. And then bring it up to your doctor and be prepared to potentially get a different doctor, because for some reason cis doctors are like, I think 2 milligrams oral estrogen is perfect. And it's like, are you kidding me? I'm going to get osteoporosis. So yeah, be prepared as a person seeking trans-related care to sometimes have to be smarter than your doctor. That shit happens sometimes. It's kind of annoying, actually, but yeah. So if you already have hormones and it's just taking a long time, it might be that it was kind of slow. Mood, I started on half the dose I'm on now. Sure, you maybe start on 2 milligrams for like 2 or 3 months, but then you need to, like, you know, you should not be on 2 milligrams of estrogen for longer than like a couple months. And like, honestly, I think that that's kind of an insultingly low dose even to start on. Like, the comparable level for a trans guy starting trans care would be being put on like 0.25 milliliters. Like, and then if they just kept you on that for like 2 years while you failed to see any results, like, yeah. Wait, does 2 milligrams create osteoporosis? So if you are on Spiro or another testosterone blocker and you are on an insultingly low dose of estrogen for like several years, then yes, that causes the same problems that having no hormones does, because your hormone level is so incredibly low. But, it also depends on your own physiology. For some people, maybe 2 milligrams of oral estrogen has them fucking at normal estrogen levels for cis women. That is not common. 2 milligrams is like super low for estrogen. That's my understanding anyway. I don't take that. This is just from years of watching trans women talk about this and like the backlash that there was to the fucking SciShow video. Yeah, 2 milligrams is like really low. You should educate yourself on what the correct target estrogen range is, and then make sure when you get your blood work done that you see your paperwork, and so that you can personally identify and monitor what your estrogen level is. And there's other stuff that you need to keep a look at too, like, you know, red blood cell count and stuff like that. You know, there are reasons for a doctor to take your overall blood work and look at other things happening. But as far as your actual estrogen level, for some reason, cis doctors think that it's acceptable for them to be like at the lowest or even below the lowest levels for cisgender people that you're trying to physically emulate. I found it's working, but IDK. Listen, again, for some people, 2 milligrams, and maybe you want the changes to happen pretty slowly. Like maybe that's more comfortable for you. But like, I've seen plenty of women talk about like, this doctor has kept me at a low dose that has had me like unable to stay awake all day because I don't have enough sex hormones in my body. Yeah, and if you're doing so I'm specifically saying 2 milligrams oral, 2 milligrams oral, 2 milligrams oral. If you're taking injections, that's different because you're getting it directly into your body instead of your liver processing it, which is better. So you can, if you take injections, the numbers are different. 2 milligrams oral is probably too low for most people. Darth says, also, even other doctors, totally unrelated to you being trans, you gotta watch out. I went to 2 orthopedists and both didn't really want to touch my trans body. Seemingly same for the physiotherapy. And I still have these issues. Yeah, that's crazy. Like the idea that you can be like, I'm here for some completely unrelated body system. And they're like, are you sure that you shouldn't just stop taking estrogen? And you're like, I will kill you. Oh, man. I love coffee. I love having giant coffee mugs. It makes me happy. It makes me happy. Thumb Warrior says 2 milligrams is what I take when I'm trying to get off estrogen and roid out for 3 months. True. Sophie also follows up a weird question. Is it normal for others to start on spironolactone without estradiol? Because it seems so weird to me. I've seen some people do that on purpose. Like, I know a non-binary creator, Council of Geeks. I don't know if you know them. But Council of Geeks, as I understand it, initially they started on Spiro only because they were like, I want a non-binary transition. And being on Spiro, they naturally had enough estrogen in their body that they started growing boobs before they ever started estrogen. Now, I do believe that they eventually added estrogen in. So I know of somebody who chose to do Spiro first without estradiol. But I do not think that that is typical. I think, again, that this is cis doctors being fucking insane. I don't actually know what's wrong with them. But no, I don't think that that's normal. Like, I don't think that's typical. In fact, it seems like, according to the girlies, that monotherapy is better. Dank Catlord said, I started on Spiro without estradiol for 2 months because I really hated the effects of tea. Okay, but you chose to do that, right? Did you choose to do that, or did the doctors make you do that because Sophie's doctor made her do that? Is giant coffee cup or is Moss just very small? I'm not that small. I'm a normal-sized person. Ugh. Is 2 milligrams low for oral or intramuscular? I cannot speak to intramuscular. I do not know what the ranges are for it. I know that 2 milligrams is low for oral. because your body is processing a bunch of it out in your liver. Yeah, Dank Cat Lord specifically asked to start on Spiro only. Drea says, I've heard that taking estrogen for more than a few years permanently affects your ability to go back. Not sure what would happen if they just blanket ban trans meds. What do you mean permanently affects your ability to go back? Like, that you can't detransition, or... True, my first physician is super affirming, but started me on 2 milligrams FFS. If it's only like for a couple months, if they're like, let's see how you react, let's make sure you're not like gonna be allergic for some fucking reason or something, for like 2 months maybe, 2 milligrams for like 2 or 3 months maybe, but like you shouldn't be on it for longer than that. Best to check a chart for exact dosage conversion. I can say I'm on 0.25 injection, which is equivalent to 6 milligrams oral. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you're doing injectable estrogen, that's totally different. It's highly effective for injections. I mean that for a trans woman, their T never returns to sufficient levels. I mean, basically you're implying, I guess that's what like chemical castration is about. Is that the concept behind that? Is like you administer so much estrogen that they're permanently infertile? Is that the idea, or is chemical castration ongoing, whereas you, in like the sense that you would have to continue taking it forever? I don't know. It seems like that is not a problem for ovaries. It seems like it doesn't matter how long you take testosterone, your body will still try to get pregnant. Like, it just seems like it doesn't have that impact. But I am not sure. Because I know that there was also that story that ContraPoints was giving. She was talking about some other trans woman who had taken estrogen and then decided she wanted to become a parent, but she was not producing enough sperm. But like, I don't know if you came off of... I know it would be very difficult for a trans woman to come off of her hormones for long enough, but it's like, I don't know if like maybe if you come off of it for long enough, if your body will start functioning again in that way, but it would just take so long that it would not be worth it, and so most people don't do it. I'm not sure. GG Gorgeous. Yes, thank you, Drea. I haven't watched that video in a long time. Allison provides that 5 to 6 milligrams of estradiol valerate weekly dosage. You might inject 0.25 to 0.3 milliliters per week, once a week, via intramuscular or subcutaneous injection. Injections, you just push the plunger and have faith. I mean, I guess, like, I had a nurse teach me how to do my own injections. Or I guess, like, yeah. Eventually, I had a nurse teach me how to do it. I was definitely doing it wrong at first. But especially for subcutaneous, if you have any body fat anywhere, you can just pick a spot on your body where you have a little bit of body fat. And just, there you go, sub-Q. Easy. I just want to wake up one day and be 6'5" and rippling with muscle, and then the next day be 5'2" with a big old butt. True. I want to be a muscle mommy. It turns out that that's what I want in my life. Oh my god, you guys. I was trying to figure out, and maybe I mentioned this, I've been trying to figure out why this part of my arm is so thick, and like I feel like I look really weird and uneven with like just this random like part of my arm here. And I was like flexing it and messing with it, and I realized like, oh no, that is part of my triceps. That is one of my muscles. That's not fat. That's one of my muscles. And then I was like, why is it like that though? And I was Googling like, what do the triceps do? And it's like, okay, it's muscle, or it's elbow extension. And then I realized, oh, it's because my desk was in a very bad position for a long time, and I was holding my arm all the way out. Now I have it set up to where my arms are at 90-degree angles like they're supposed to be. with my hands on my keyboard, but for a while I was like holding my arms out like this all the time. So I have like strong triceps because it's just stability holding my arms out all the time. Now what I need to do is start just doing this for periods of time so that I can also round out my fucking shoulders. Oh man. Also, all of that Allison info is based on a 100 milligrams per 5 milliliter, or 200 milligrams per milliliter bottle. Cool. Nice. Thank you for the information. So yeah, that's what I want. I want to be muscle mommy. I feel like my fucking biceps have not shrunk nearly as much as I would have expected them to, given that I do not work out right now. But those are my physical goals. Muscle mommy, broad back. That's what we want. I deliberately do exercises to build my triceps and biceps. I just didn't realize that my triceps were so strong, like just on their own. And that means that I'm going to really need to pay attention when I start doing like any chest exercises, because my triceps are going to be able to handle so much of that I'm going to have to deliberately focus on engaging my chest or my shoulders, whatever the particular exercise is. Moss is looking good. Thank you. Permission to say sheesh? Yes. Sheesh. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. I feel like standing for stream was a great idea today because my calves feel so much better. They were iced out this morning. I was like, I can't fucking move my legs, dude. They hurt. Yeah. Yep, muscle mommies are where it's at. So I guess that's the kind of stuff I'm going to put on the second channel. I'll put like workout content. I'll put farming and gardening content. That kind of stuff. I haven't posted anything on the second channel in such a long time. I need to get some like professional goals together and be like, okay, how often am I going to post on each channel? What things am I going to post about on each channel? Like, let's make some deadlines and start adhering to deadlines. I need a manager. I need to find my own muscle mommy. I know. Yeah, Drea, you're like, I want to be the skinny small one, and then I need a muscle mommy to open all the jars. Yeah. Okay, guys. I know we're not quite at the 4-hour mark, but I am a little tired and I'm kind of running out of shit to talk about, and I would like to get some other stuff done this afternoon. So thank you all so much for chilling and hanging out with me. Thank you so much for everybody who donated. I know that it's a tough time of year. It's weird. We're all kind of not sure whether we're going to even get our taxes back. So thank you for all the support that you showed, whether financial or otherwise. Thank you for hitting the like button and all that shit. And I will plan to see you all again on Wednesday at the normal time, 2 p.m. Pacific. So much love, everybody. And be good, or at least don't get caught.